Welcome back to the TI-10 group stage. We've got OG versus T1, which I think is a pretty hype matchup. So we brought on a special guest. Aiden, welcome.
Hello.
You like our little room that we got going on?
Yeah,
here?
it's beautiful. It's great to be here.
Very nice.
Glad to be invited to do a little bit of this too.
Are you looking forward to the caster life?
No.
No?
No.
The caster life is supposed to be the good life.
It is very good.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I want to play for a couple more years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was referencing your panel that you were just going on.
Oh, you meant
Yeah, the
that
difference
way.
between
Yeah, okay.
panel and casting.
I'm not sure. I haven't casted yet. I mean, paneling's been real fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And
Okay, so we have to make this a really fun experience so
Yes.
we beat out the panelists.
Well, I mean, you should be confident. My mom tells me, if you can do it, I'm sure anybody can. So you should have confidence.
Yeah, your mom's probably right about that. Let's go to the draft. OG versus T1 is kicking off right now, and I want to get every little bit of analysis from Aiden. It's humanly possible. Somebody who has matched up against OG a number of times, who played with the OG Sumail. I know you two have a very special relationship.
yeah, we like to have fun. It's good vibes when Smells around.
Yeah,
Good vibes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. We've been broing out with him. The conclusion of most days. I think the big key to take down OG is, of course, to make sure you check your email in a timely fashion. It's proven very successful over the last couple of years, but. This T1 squad as well, they 2-0'd VP earlier. I think you were working those games.
Yeah.
The Cuckoo Doom making an appearance. So a lot of implications for this series, as OG also got 2-0'd by Aster. So you've suddenly got 3 teams all tied at 5 and 3. T1 currently at 2 and 4. So it's not quite a must-win for them, but they certainly would prefer to.
I just think the mentality of going 0-4 in one day, it just doesn't feel good. So I think, like, for that reason alone, I think OG probably one of the teams that are the least affected by it. But I still think, like, knowing that you at least get one win in is going to be important for them. And I think T1, they're, like, on the redemption arc today, right? They started off pretty poorly on day 1. And then today they stepped up against VP and, like, really showed up.
Add to that, I personally feel like we're looking at 2 of the best team fighting teams in the world. Like, T1 has been, I think, incredible at Animajor, and like some of their highlights have, for me anyway, just been how they're able to play as 5 together. And OG, I mean, they're just OGs. So I'm really looking forward to seeing which team actually proves to be stronger in that aspect. And I feel like T1 can actually take them. I think they can beat OG at their own game.
Yeah, they were definitely a different team when I watched them play up against Virtus Pro. But the thing I always love about watching the OG draft is that you never know what their opener means. So we saw No-Tail and Seb both play Legion Commander already, and it totally changes. We've seen LC go rush armlet from the off lane. You're the source of damage later in Initiator. Then we've seen the support LC going for early shard and a much more support-focused build, and you're a pretty formidable laner even as a support. And I think one of the only teams I've seen that's willing to play tiny mid. Everybody else, I think it's just a carry.
I see. Okay. I mean, I think for me, the Legion, though, here very likely is going to be core. I think one of the big problems that I've seen throughout the group stage for these past 2 days is just how do we figure out Tide? And there seems like I've seen some Vipers. I've seen a lot of people try different answers. But the problem is when you Viper the Tide, it just ends up being a 5. And then it's still just going to Ravage, and he doesn't care that you're countering Kraken Shell. So Legion Commander seems to me like that's the idea of it here. They want a good answer to the Tide, and they want to make sure they can kill it. So for me, personally, if I was drafting right now against OG, I would assume in like 8 out of 10 scenarios, this is going to be a Legion 3.
It's nice against Phoenix as well, especially if that's a 5. Like, you don't really enjoy that matchup too much, and later in the game, it's quite easy to.
I mean, you get the insta hit proc if somebody's hitting you, and you get more egg hits too. So, despite the with the purge as well, so you have a lot of ways of actually dealing with Phoenix.
Remember, defensive dispel is a cleanse.
Okay.
It's an offensive purge.
I see. Thank you, Kyle, for educating me.
No worries. Some people.
Kyle teaching somebody else. I guess that's not Dota mechanics.
So you
that's
don't know
just
about
language.
This. You don't know about this, but Kyle's been teaching me for years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? He'd teach you a lot back in Heroes of New Earth?
Absolutely.
Yeah? What did he teach you?
Things.
Yeah?
Stuns are good.
Stuns are good. Yeah, I mean, you guys held on
color
to that.
coordinations.
Color coordination.
Yeah.
I told Cap the other day, remember when we were talking, I think it was ESL Hamburg, you told me about how I always used to stress the importance of damage.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I forgot about that.
Yes.
And
So-
I'm still upset because it really makes the game seem a lot simpler once you look at it in terms of damage. And I just didn't do that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I
P-
learned so much, I forgot the important bits.
yeah. Pete Kyle just talked about like at the end of the day, it's just which team can kill the other one faster.
Mm.
And then you have like heals that are negative damage, and like these things like stuns are like 0 damage. It stops damage from the enemy team, and like just think about everything in terms of how they affect the damage.
10 seconds.
And then
Okay.
Han is really easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I responded to Kyle that OG
5 seconds.
took those
remaining.
same lessons and went on to win TI twice. And
But
Kyle-
Kyle's a very successful analyst now. Kyle's a somewhat successful analyst now.
Actually,
that's better.
Actually, I am an award-nominated analyst.
Can't you?
Oh my God.
This is gonna be great. Imagine when in like a couple months from now you're gonna be able to say I'm an award-winning panelist now.
Yeah, that's not happening.
T1's turn
You don't
to
believe?
ban.
No.
It's okay, Kyle. People didn't believe in OG winning 2 TIs, but look at them now.
Hey, if they can fluke it, I'm sure I can fluke my way to a win.
Kyle doesn't have enough connections to be able to win that award.
So I've been doing the panel for a
Dota
while.
doesn't have enough connections. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I've been doing the panel for a while, so I'm just thinking about random stuff that are
10
not
seconds
related to the
remaining.
draft
Yeah,
while
yeah,
we're
yeah.
drafting.
This is the perfect phase.
And
by
I
the way.
noticed that both teams are
5
BMW
seconds
sponsored.
remaining.
Hype. I hope.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
well,
I actually didn't even know OG was BMW sponsored.
I saw it on Johan's shirt.
yeah, not sponsored enough to get on the flag, but I guess we're giving the promotion now. So, give me a free car, thanks. You're actually a natural because this second banning phase.
I know you guys never talk about it. I think this is one of the most interesting parts of the draft.
All right, hit me with the interesting
Yeah, break it down.
analysis.
I'll let
of
Kyle.
this.
I'll let Kyle start, and I'll
no,
follow
no,
up.
after you.
Okay, so generally the second phase of bans, you're trying to set up whatever picks you're going to go for.
Mhm.
So the bans that you see here are probably going to be fairly indicative of what they're going to draft. Unfortunately, I haven't drafted in a
10
while,
seconds
so this is the kind of thing that when I'm playing,
Mhm.
I would like I see puck clinks
5
crop. I'm like,
seconds
okay, it's this,
remaining.
this, or that.
Mhm.
And a team like OG here, they will be like pretty sure about what's coming. I think they will expect the Doom almost. You will have like Doom, a couple of other heroes that are on the list, and then depending on which one of these they choose to go for, you're going to be prepared with the pick that they're about to pick. And I'm just stalling so I can see it and then say yes. That's what I was thinking.
Very
how you-
good.
that's how
no,
you
that's
cast, right?
that's
Yeah.
That's what I
exactly how
learned
you
from
do
Kyle.
it. Yeah, you 100%
Yeah.
stall, and then just when they
See?
pick that hero, they were like, "Yeah, that's what I was gonna say."
Yes, I learned that from Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot you can pick up from the legends, right? Like, you're good friends, of course, with William Lee, the coach. You know, you just talk about which team can push the lanes most effectively because controlling the waves is a good way to ensure you have vision around the map. You can make advantageous movements and.
I feel like I've gotten 3 different
Oh,
lessons on
geez.
Dota. It's all about pushing waves. It's all about
Yes,
doing
and
damage, and it's all about stuns. So
Vision
like,
tools are really important too.
Okay, it's all about vision.
Yes.
Right.
This is dangerous.
I feel like not all of it can be everything.
Now, here's another thing that's very critical. A lot of players, they neglect the importance of daylight savings
10
time. That's
seconds
important when you're
remaining.
playing Night Stalker against Phoenix because Egg supersedes darkness
5
and turns
seconds
the night to
remaining.
day.
Yep. Yes, you were correct. It does.
That's it.
Yes.
It's an
Nothing
interesting
beats
pick,
the
though. I wonder
actual
why you
sun.
actually picked Night Stalker here. Why would you pick it into the Phoenix?
More control for the tide, I suppose, like a disable that, or a silence rather, that isn't removed. But
T1's turn
I
to
imagine,
pick.
Maresca has arrived.
looking at it, somewhere out there in the ether, Rich Campbell smiles. I think it's more likely a core Night Stalker based off that, just because I think you need it to be for the
By that
silence
you
to be
mean
enough.
carry, right?
Or offlane.
Okay.
Or
Have we
mid.
seen support Night
Mid.
Stalker?
We've
10
seen it played by
I haven't seen
Fana
it.
as a 5 quite a bit.
Oh,
back in
okay.
Oh,
the
that's
Back,
true,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah, a little
That's
while
pre-TI,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
5 seconds
But I think
remaining.
it's a 3 or potentially a 2. I could see Thompson playing it, but it's so that you can actually kill the Phoenix if you find him. Another tool to potentially help with dealing with Egg as well, just because you get so much attack speed during night. Although
But you don't,
it's daytime.
because it's
yeah.
daytime because of the egg.
I said that. I knew
Yes.
that.
So actually, I think most of the
geez,
time when I watch
turn
OG
to
draft, I
bat.
feel like I get a very cohesive idea of what they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
I think this time around it looks a little bit odd to me. I feel like the NS is, it feels very weird. I really wonder what their last pick is, because I think whatever they pick now, it really has to like round out the draft and give them a solid win condition. I think T1 most likely gonna ban Tinker,
10 seconds remaining.
just because of the synergy with NS. And to me, this looks like a
T1's turn to
most
ban.
likely Legion 5
OG's
actually now.
Turn to
Yeah.
ban.
And this is a combo that they utilized. They had Dusa in the first game they beat VP, and then Doom in the second. But this is something it looks like T1 tweaked as they came into the second day group stage, where they put a lot more emphasis, I think, on being able to scale into the
10
late game.
seconds
Yeah.
remaining.
They actually played Night Stalker themselves in their opening series. Was
5
it against
seconds
EG or IG?
remaining.
It was against IG, and they got 2-0'd.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a little more stable. Like, I'm looking at team fighting in this
T1's
squad. Like, what are you
turn to
actually supposed to
ban.
do?
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially when it comes to vision tools, like you're playing NS, these vision tools are useful when you have the ability to go into the enemy team. And I think in this game, like, they don't really have that much team fight on OG. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it might be hard to fight into all these heroes because you're going to have to silence the Tide or duel him.
OG's
And at the
turn
same
to
time, you're
pick.
dealing with a Stone Gaze, a Doom, and an Egg. So initiation for them, I think, is going to be quite tricky. Even though they have the vision, I think it's going to be hard to find the right target.
T1's turn to pick.
But they didn't ban the Tinker.
Oh.
So that makes sense.
It's a great spot for it. It's one of the traditional hard counters to Dusa.
Do you think it's Sumail Tinker?
I think it's Thompson Tinker, Sumail Tiny.
I
Yeah.
see.
But I mean, yeah, you're right. Where it's very surprising. They banned out
10
Nyx Assassin. Like,
seconds
why
remaining.
would you fear Nyx in this game? To be honest, like, it just makes OG's team fight fall
5
flat.
seconds
Now
remaining.
Tinker, suddenly you have this great tool to not just combo with the duel, with the tiny combo, with the vision of the NS, but you're very strong against Dusa, Doom, Tide. Like, all of these heroes actually just hate playing into Tinker. And you don't have catch for him right now. The last
Yeah.
pick has to be it, and you kind of banned it yourself. No Quap, no Puck.
I think when I look at T1's draft, what I think was really strong is that they have this ball, and OG had like vision, and they have like these purges and stuff, but they never had the ability to commit into the ball. And what Tinker does is it forces you to come break up your ball and come chase the Tinker. So it's a really, really smart pick by OG, and I think I'm a little bit surprised that T1 didn't actually just ban it out. I thought it was like the first most obvious ban when I saw the NS, and they picked Willow, so I was a little bit surprised by that. And I think it's probably the only hero I could see solve that issue for OG.
Because what it was is T1 firmly in control of the win condition, right? Like,
Yes.
you look at the draft, it's like, okay, we haven't addressed this at all as OG. So you needed some hero, similar to, say, like what an Alchemist would impact in the changing of a game state.
Right.
That just sort of flips it on its head, where all of a sudden it's like, well, T1's team fight now looks a little exposed.
Select
So,
your
hey, Mag,
heroes.
not bad. You're going to be able to find Tinker, but, end of the day, you can lose. Like, what felt like an unlosable lineup in the sense that you would eventually get Medusa strong enough to just walk down a lane, you're now kind of frustrated. Like, Night Stalker suddenly activated. He has a purpose, and I believe it will be 5. Like, well, now they're thinking,
Yeah.
which one will Seb play, which will No-Tail?
It's very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this. Because No-Tail can now play more defensive, keep his Tinker alive, and Seb's just going to run at people.
Yeah. And they have a purge for the RP. I think Magnus was also a very interesting last pick to me. It's probably not. That wasn't the type of hero at all that I was thinking about.
Same.
When you guys were talking about the whole win condition, I get they can play this ball and they're going to be able to, okay, they're running around as 5 or whatever, but ultimately T1, aren't they just going to naturally outscale OG? Like, how does OG end this game when you've got Medusa, Doom, Mag, like, they're all going to naturally scale up and just be really strong late game. Like, how does OG end the game to prevent them reaching a point that doesn't matter if Dusa's countered by Tinker, she's got MKB?
I think the way the Dusa Tinker matchup goes, or like in general, I think OG will have a timing where they're much stronger. But I think at some point Dusa will just be, it'll take too long for the Tinker to rearm, shoot laser, rocket, for her to not deal any damage at all. So I think eventually down the line, T1 has a very, very solid draft. And they have like Empower Dusa. They have a lot of damage in their draft naturally. They have this Doom that's going to scale up. So yeah, late game's going to be tough for OG, but I think as with any OG timing, OG draft, they have a really, really clear timing of like, once they get Blink Daggers or they have the vision tools, they have nighttime, they're going to really be able to put pressure on T1. And T1 really doesn't have any like pick-off to respond with. All their spells are cooldowns. And then OG's going to make sure that they never have all 5 of their cooldowns up at once and just constantly bring the pressure to them. Force them to fight without ults.
Yeah, it really comes down to how does OG control vision. That's where the strength lies. Because sure, T1's team fight's going to be great, but what if they lose a couple towers? Like, I remember something. Oh my god, I forgot how much these guys spam growth lines. It's been a quiet couple of games.
It has.
Moon Meander, was a huge Tinker spammer. And I never forgot what he told me like way back when, 2016. If you want to beat Tinker, you got to kill his towers. If you don't do that, like you just get stuck. Like there's going to be a Night Stalker on a high ground, TP is coming around. It's just very annoying to play the game if you can't kill Tinker towers, and that's something you've got a real issue with, I think, as T1, because this draft is just a bit slow and very level dependent. Until level 6, your first 4 heroes you see at the top side of your screen just simply are not effective.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think what's going to be interesting is just how do they fight back during the OG timing, and how do they fight without their cooldowns, because I'm imagining they're going to greed up on a lot of heroes. I think interesting things to look for is Kuku going to go Midas? It'll tell a lot about the game. And then what will Mag build? Is he going to go for some Blink route, like Tread's Blink, or is he going to go into some Echo Saber?
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of overlap in the T1 heroes about how they want to farm and control the map. Like, both Mag and Dusa kind of want to farm Ancients. And how they decide to distribute that is going to be interesting to me.
No Tail using his strength as a Legion Commander level 1 to try and snipe away the boundary, and doesn't get that. Puts a little damage onto Zephyr and Cuckoo. It's always, I feel like the T. If I was playing against T1, I would never give them to. Just because of the versatility of them being able to play it on Carl or Cuckoo. And also it just seems to fit very nicely into their combination of team fight and the way that they're able to scale with this hero. Like,
yeah, it's also just one of Cuckoo's best heroes. Like, he loves playing Doom. I'm surprised it took him until day 2 to bust it out. And bottom lane, like, I think you're gonna be pretty happy with this. Like, Doom just kind of farms against Tiny, right? Like, I don't see him dying to LC Tiny lane.
No, I think he's gonna be fine in the lane. I think.
Oh, he's got a. That's first blood. Saksa commits for it. Oh no. 23 Savage thought the Fairy Fire was going to be good enough, but because he was caught in the brambles, it was too much damage.
Yeah. No, I think OG's draft is not really about the lanes. I think that this game is going to come very much down to, like, can OG force T1 into such a small space on the map that their heroes can't get farmed?
Well, another concern I had is you picked Magnus into Tinker, but that matchup's very Tinker favored, isn't it? Like, it's kind of the dream, you know, for heroes like Storm, like Tinker, where you're high range, high damage. And there's no real offensive threat Carl can output. So long as Thompson doesn't, you know, just straight up get skewered into tower, I don't see how he doesn't effectively get all last. But right now he's already doing incredibly well. 10 CS by 149.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand this pick either. But it'll be curious to see how it plays out.
Oh, he tried. Doesn't quite get it though.
Because you also had, like, the tide already. Like, I feel like, well, we'll just see how it plays out. But I feel like your late game is kind of already secured. The Tinker was the huge issue, and I don't feel like Mag addresses it.
Yeah.
You would have preferred, what, a more active, like, Puck, Lina, Quaps type hero? Is that what you were looking for?
I actually was thinking about Zeus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Zeus is like my favorite hero against Tinker, just because you find him immediately, and then with Aghanims, like, you interrupt the rearm or the TP very easily.
Do you think they were more focused on the durability of their mid laner versus Night Stalker Tiny? Like, were they just not looking at Tinker and being like, we want to focus on these other heroes?
It's possible, but the thing is, like, I feel like Zeus is really nice against Night Stalker too, because your big issue and what OG's advantage is, like Aiden was saying, is vision. And that's the part of the game that T1's draft kind of suffers in, because you'll have all this team fight, but you're not going to have any method of using it unless kind of, you know, OG's going to effectively have the initiator's advantage in every fight. They're going to be able to pick and choose their battles.
I would agree with that. I think for
Oh,
me,
we got him! Shockwave skewered back into the tower. Does have the laser on him, so he couldn't actually put any damage during that time.
Yeah, I think for me, I was looking for something that gives them a little bit of pace. I think their draft right now, like if you're playing Phoenix, or it's just hard for them to start stuff off. They kind of have to react to OG constantly. So I was thinking more something along the lines of like Ember, Void Spirit, which are not necessarily great heroes for the game, but I think it makes T1's draft come together. And it gives them a hero to play around, a hero to enable them to make moves and stuff.
I see that.
I think for me, I would imagine that's what they're thinking about this Mag. He's probably going to be more of like a Blink initiator with Horn Toss and probably just using RP to get kills for them and punishing OG when they go too deep.
Cuckoo opted for the mana burn creep instead of the bigger satyr.
Tiny's
like
a low
that.
mana hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at, oh man, no tail. I like that. Controlling the bottom rune and just annoying Carl. Because this, like, look at Top's now. I love this, where he's just kind of controlling the top side of the hill. So Carl too low. If he runs for the rune, he dies to a rocket laser. But he's going to deny the full wave before he runs for it. Look at this. Like, not even watching other lanes. Just love watching this mid matchup. I think Topson for sure is going to be the winner. Or, well, reason his team wins or loses. Although Sumail is enormous down bottom, 30 and 11. I did not expect this lane to be so
Radiant's
successful.
middle tower
Yeah,
is under
OG's lanes
attack.
are doing really, really well. Even the top lane, Night Stalker's winning during daytime, and it's about to hit night, and he has lane control. So this is not looking great for T1, I think, as a start.
This is actually crazy.
Yeah.
Is that supposed? I guess the first blood, right? But Seb is going like straight Vanguard too, and now it's nighttime, and suddenly this is a level 4 Medusa that feels like he's in some serious trouble.
They don't even have like stacks or anything on the
No.
side of T1, so it's not even like there's a plan B set in place.
Yeah, and it's a bit too early for Dusa to leave the lane. You don't really want to leave the lane yet. You
Yeah.
still want to be able to sit here and play pressure. And here's also the problem with not having any sort of playmaker in your draft. You don't really have the ability to shift stuff up. So once OG starts zoning these heroes off the lanes
Yeah.
and you have to go into the jungles, suddenly the Dusa is taking mag space, and they're no longer able to farm these greedy heroes like the way they want to.
That's a really good point. Neither support really makes plays. They're just ult-dependent team fighters. And I think about, you know, the necessity of taking a Tinker's Towers to obtain map control. How in the hell are you going to do that if you've lost all 3 lanes? You know, T1 not out of this, but OG are certainly in control. Nice tree toss there.
No tail. Is he going to be burnt out? He will, and Zephyr is going to survive. Over the side, Carl having to skewer away. Picked up the Invis rune, so should be okay. Whitemon. And Carl, he might go for it. He will. RP underneath the tower. Still has a shockwave ready to go, and that is just enough to get the kill onto Seb. Thompson takes a little bit of damage on his way out as well. Quite a bit of damage, in fact. So nice pickup for Carl. Good use of his first RP.
Oh no! Thompson just TP'd to, he accidentally TP'd, I guess it actually doesn't matter at all, but he TP'd to the tier 1 and then just king conveyances back to base. So I guess it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. He had a TP scroll, so.
What are you looking at me for?
Your face looks beautiful in profile.
Oh my god.
It's a side profile, right?
Yes.
He told me about this.
Yes.
Kyle, you shouldn't look dead into the camera anymore. You should just always be looking at me or Aiden.
Here's the side.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
it
guys.
seems like
Keep that in
neither
mind.
team was able to do anything with the catapults. Deuces are catered into the jungle, and I think this is like OG's goal. They want to force the T1 heroes just more and more together, force them further and further into their own side of the map.
Oof. That was just a bit too much damage for Carl. Didn't expect that. They still have the Siege Wagon alive, too, so they can do a lot in this mid lane.
Darkness pop top as well. Savage.
Running him down. They're going to try and TP in to bail him out, but it's not going to be good enough. It's a Tidehunter, ultimately. He doesn't provide a stun to stop Seb. He just keeps running him down.
Wow.
Yeah.
OG are just owning right now. And it's only 4-3, but if you look at the map, it just, they own everything at the moment. However, it's kind of what the draft is required to do, right? They need to be the playmakers. They have to be the
Absolutely.
ones kind of forcing T1 into uncomfortable spots because, you know, it's a Doom going Midas. It's a Medusa. At a
Radiant's
certain
middle
point,
tower is
they're going to
under
be plenty strong. But I actually think the biggest item for them is going to be at a point when Cuckoo has both BKB Shivas. Because he just has to find Tinker. If you Doom him, that is likely going to be enough to win the fight. As Thompson gets very close to his Blink Dagger, farming up stacks. Oh, Fairy Trinket. Perfect.
Very big pickup.
So T1's going to hit their timing around 10 minutes. It's going to be daytime, and both their supports are hopefully going to be level 6 around then, and that's when they're going to be able to fight back. For now, they're just like kind of trying to get as much as they can out of the map until they get 6 supports.
Come on. Got to get a run over here. You're not going to allow this support to be able to sit in and soak up whatever creeps push in. T1 scout out the stacks here, but not much they can do about that
Radiant's
ancient
bottom
stack.
tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack.
I'm curious. So I've not seen Seb do this in a while. He used to do it on.
Savage needs some help. He's dead. He is out of mana. They're going to TP in now. Maybe Carl can actually bail him out. Not in time. He might be able to get the kill onto Seb, pulls him back in with the RP. He's going to get stunned, but the tower might be able to finish off the job. Zephyr can maybe get him with a fire. Oh, getting cleansed just at the right time. Dives forward. A couple more fire spirits. The Sunray going out, but it get canceled by the Void. Carl had that haste rune from the bottom, and that is going to be enough to be able to get that kill.
If there's no haste, he just lives there.
Oh,
That's
look at
the
Carl!
Vanguard.
He knew that
This is
Tinker was
huge.
doing the smoke laser trick on the Ancient stack, and he's going to take the last 4 of the Ancients.
This is huge for them. This is slowing down OG's timing a lot, and it gives them the gold they need. But the hero that we have not talked about at all is Tiny, and he's just farming out of his mind.
True.
Oh, Noto, he was so close to 6 there. He would have got a easy duel, but yeah, it's a good point for Maiden because Sumel's just untouched. He's going to have Echo Saber complete and on the way 10 minutes into the game. Yeah, you can see though, like I think that's very telling that the golden XP is so firmly in OG's favor, but the win probability is relatively even. And it's because this is the state of the game, it has to be. Like if somehow T1 are like winning lanes and taking early towers, they can just kind of sit on the lead, farm triangle and eventually take a W, but now is the time. Tinker has a Blink Dagger, trying to make moves.
Hitting Cuckoo. They catch him in a bramble. I think it would definitely die, as is the fear. Might still be enough. The burst damages so much. If he gets out of vision, maybe he survives. Tinker Thompson does not want to chase that down. Cuckoo will survive.
It's huge.
Yeah, so now they know that Kuka has to go back to base. I would expect Thompson to go top immediately before the Doom is ready to fight and try to apply some pressure here to enable them to go for this push.
Darkness ready, as is duel.
Whitemon huddling back in the trees. He really is just trying to soak up experience. He's going to show himself, trying to keep Seb from tanking the tower, but he's going to make sure the Siege Wagon stays alive. They're going to bring in the Doom for this one. Seb, they're going to be able to get the Doom off on him, so they're not going to be able to get off the Darkness first. He is going to get a bit of a bumper and heal, but the rest of T1 have already sandwiched in. He's dead.
Yeah, but that's Doom down. This is a timing for OG now to try to make some move. I think this is kind of expected for them. They know that they're going to have to bleed some kills to these cooldowns, and then it's all about how do you capitalize on these minutes where
Yeah.
Doom is down.
Exactly, because it's also they know for a fact he's teleported top, so you could see Soxa down bottom pulled off the creep wave, and now they see that Savage has TP'd down here, so suddenly perhaps that's a potential place to exploit. Because Tinker is going to play corners. He can be any side lane he wants. And you can see Nota with these wards, he really wants to get a duel off. He knows he's there.
Sneaky ward from Zephyr there, scouts out everything.
No tails coming. He's going to dive away and is very likely going to die anyway. I don't think he wants to pop Supernova, but at the same time, if he doesn't, he's also feeding away. Dual damage to No Tail. Mid lane, looks like they managed to catch Soxa. It is going to be another one of those big cooldowns that you were talking about, this time for just 4 position. And a whole bunch of heroes showing as well.
How strong is Tiny like in the Medusa matchup?
I think if he's 2 items ahead, he'll be strong no matter what matchup. And I think that's kind of like the way the heroes playing right now, so it looks like he's going to reach that point, I think, if the game continues the way it is now. Yeah, and this is during, you have to keep in mind, this is during daytime. OG's playing daytime right now, and T1's not really finding the kind of fight where they wipe them in exchange for 2 other cooldowns. And I think that's kind of what they're going to have to do here at the mid-tier 1.
Yeah, Carl is going for the Echo Saber still, so one of the initiation tool. I'm very concerned with how in the hell they're going to find this Tinker.
Yeah, I mean T1's just banking on like, we're going to outfarm you over time. You guys might win some fights in the early game, but we're just going to try to get as much gold as possible.
They're going to get the Brambles, immediately try and get the silence on a 23 Savage before the Stone Gaze, and they did get it. The Supernova is not going to be enough clearance. They throw out the Ravage as well, clipping some heroes. Sure, they're going to be able to bring back No Tail to his death, but OG, they still have plenty of firepower left with 2 big cooldowns down. They're just going to keep on going. They get the vision. Whitemon is dead, and they can still scout out some more. Thompson's, he could just keep on chasing like this. Good read by Carl. Got hit by a Void, immediately teleported out, knowing that they were out of stuns. Cuckoo, the really big kill. They get Thompson is doomed. They're burning him out right now, but they can't actually keep any heroes on top of him. Is anybody going to be able to get there? Soxa, he's going to die. Traded out for Zephyr, and it looks like Thompson will survive through this Doom. It is not enough damage.
That was huge. He had, that was like literally just as it was off cooldown, Doom.
Yeah.
That's if they get that kill on Thompson, that's enormous. Like Sumail's not even playing Dota yet. He has 156 CS at 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Shadowblade. That is the fastest one I've seen.
It's very, very fast. And they're about to make this map very, very small for T1. You're going to notice T1 heroes are going to fall closer and closer to their triangle. And that's all that OG's trying to accomplish. And then they're going to try to force fights when they know that they don't have cooldowns or when they feel comfortable with their own items.
And I've played in this sort of game as well, where
Doom's in trouble.
Cuckoo is going to be real quickly bursted down between the combination of this trio. Fast kill and Thompson can just be anywhere else on the map he wants to. T1, as you said, they don't have a way to catch this Tinker, so he could just constantly being applying pressure. Even if he doesn't kill someone, right? Sending him back to base is still a win.
it's so hard to play Dota when you just don't have playmakers.
Yeah. This is why I would have liked something like Ember or Void, right? So they can fight back in these early engagements, so they don't have to always run away. But they're really banking on, like, you know, we're going to go late. At some point, OG has to breach high ground, and that is very difficult against the heroes that they have. Breaching high ground I think is going to be very, very hard. So OG need to keep this pressure up.
Seb dodges the shockwave, otherwise may have been pulled back into RP range. But because of the nighttime vision, the superior vision from Seb, and being able to get the occasional rocket damage in.
I actually really like the Vanguard just because, you know, his job, he's a living ward. So just running in, like he doesn't necessarily need to do damage, just keep vision for his Tinker. Hello.
Pops Darkness now, and immediately goes for the silence onto the Tidehunter. Supernova goes down, so Seb immediately knocked back down, slowed down rather, can still fly into the trees, but he's going to be hit by Carl. RP down to low ground. Nice Sphere going up, but the Ravage is going to be able to catch Seb and stall the rest of OG just a little bit. Not enough for White Man to survive. No, he actually doesn't get hit by that tree. 23 Savage, lost most of his mana, but OG just a little bit too spread apart here, didn't focus down one hero.
Yeah, so in exchange for almost all of their cooldowns, except for Doom, they get the 1 kill on Night Stalker, and OG has basically everything ready. They use the NS ulti, but it doesn't matter because it's nighttime. So I expect OG now to like tempo up and try to really squeeze them into the triangle.
They're just going to stay on enemy jungle. Push him out. Toss.
Yeah, he certainly got him.
Yeah, this is the trouble, because with cooldowns down, suddenly you're afraid. And if you look Dire Vision, if you don't mind putting your Observer cap on real fast, Cap, you see nothing. And suddenly, duel. Yeah.
Duel. Not that it matters too much for a 5 position, but hey, more duel damage.
Yeah, but like suddenly the lead is 6k because in these moments, you know, Lucia's just not farming anything. Like you can't play the map safely because Thompson can be everywhere, and Seb is almost permanently off map.
Yeah, and Nota's just moving his hero in positions where the enemy team wants to be. So you see he runs to the triangle, make sure that they're not farming there. They drop some sentries and some wards. Now they are going to keep track of it, and eventually they're going to zone them in, and then they know where they are, and they can just pick them off like this. They know there's no fight back until Ravage and Egg are up. They know they're not going to get contested.
Yeah, the support duo of T1, like that's what they have with no cooldowns. Like without them, like if you look at the Tidehunter, 3 points Kraken Shell. He has 2-point Gush. That is his contribution to a team fight with no Ravage.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough spot for T1. Sumail is enormous. He is Silver Edge with Shard queued up. He's like 2 minutes away. He can't even buy it yet. But that's what's next in his progression. That's how far ahead he is at the moment.
Dire are scanning.
Echo Saber for Seb, and look how deep they're playing.
As you said, tempoing up. The Supernova's going to go down. They're actually going to go for the egg here, and it is going to die. But maybe they can catch some of these heroes while they're right next to the tier 3. Oh, the duel before the skewer. He knows he was going to die either way, most likely. So if he goes into the base, so he might as well duel, draw out some time, and will eventually die, but allows the rest of his team to go wherever they want.
Space created.
That was a lot of space. I think he was hoping that they would throw an RP on him or something.
Yeah. That's a bluff though. You know, like they
Yeah.
get the kill, and he's just playing. You know, you've got to figure that they're gonna pay for it at some point. Playing in between tier 2 and 3. Look at the warding that OG's got. Certainly use this nighttime to full effect. The triumvirate of wards to control this area. No triangle available for 23.
Yeah, and once they scout out the triangle, they know that T1's not there, that means they know exactly where they are on the map right now. They know they're playing in that jungle, and they're just getting themselves ready to force the engagement whenever they feel comfortable with the lanes and the positions that they have.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Axe finished on Tinker.
Oh boy.
TPing in to bottom lane. The Night Stalker is cutting the wave behind here. Doom shows up. Doesn't want to doom the Tiny. It looks like the Darkness sees the Tidehunter TPing in as well. Actually cancel that and back up. Looks like they're giving up this tier 2 tower. Between the Darkness damage and the Tiny damage, it'll fall pretty quickly here.
So the only thing T1 really has going here is that they're going to have a very long daytime, and I think they're closing in on finishing items on Carl and 23 Savage to be able to at least take a fight.
Yeah.
So this next team fight is going to be really important. I think the coordination between the Ravages and...
Dude, look at them! Tier 3, that doesn't mean much to them apparently. If they can keep the vision, maybe the Tinker can finish them off with rockets. Not quite good enough. Seb had to back away, and slight heal from the Phoenix is good enough.
Yeah, no. I think the BKB Doom is kind of critical because you saw there where he was going for a play onto Sumail, but because he didn't get it right off the bat and Sumail was able to reposition, like he just can't make the play anymore. So this at least allows him to potentially rush through OG's heroes. They only have the duel to pierce BKB and potentially just find Thompson. Because if you Doom Thompson and just run at him, especially with the War Stomp, I'm fairly certain he just dies. Because then you throw Egg on top, Ravage appears, and things get a lot simpler for you. And yeah, Blink on Carl as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for him to get past the wall of Sumail. That's kind of like the trick here. You got to get past the Tiny, past the Night Stalker, and right now you do have an opening because there's no nighttime for a long period of time. Seb used it like right before the nighttime ran out, so it's about a minute here that T1 has to try to find themselves a good team fight. Or they're just going to use the smoke to secure vision. It's also a good way to set yourselves up for a future team fight when you know OG's going to come at you.
Well, if you look at the XP, it's not as brutal as perhaps expected, but you know, Sumail and Thompson 17 and 17. Carl and 23 at 14 and 13 respectively. This gold lead's grown slightly for OG. They can't really get Roche at any point. They do it far too slowly and really just not an objective. Like, you don't want to go force 5-on-5s. You want to keep the map split. As you said, though, it is daytime. Darkness was on cooldown, so they're content to just chill for a bit.
I think T1's actually quite happy with this. I think T1 feels like they've survived like the hardest part of the game, and they're now reaching a point where they can actually play Dota.
Yeah.
And while OG's accomplished a lot and they've really been able to slow their farm down, this is going to be the real test. This is the part of their draft that's very hard to pull off. And can they now still beat T1 in fights? Are they strong enough to do it? So they waited up the nighttime, they have the nighttime now, and now they're invading into the jungle.
It's a really good point because it's impossible for T1 to play Dota for like this entire game thus far.
Yeah.
But now BKB very soon on the Doom. You actually have items, and it's finally the time of the game. Maybe you can look to force a team fight. Shard up on both Tiny and LC.
Darkness going to be popped here as they look to be able to finish off Roshan, zoned down by the Brambles as well. They're just keeping these heroes back while Roshan falls. Aegis picked up for Sumail, and T1 very likely just going to have to back away.
That was really nice from Seb and Soxa, though. They just cut him off with the choke.
Yeah, they had very nice positioning there where they were positioned far enough to where their smoke doesn't pop, but close enough to where they see them if they're trying to run down the ramp.
And that was also right before the BKB timing of Cuckoo, which is probably a big reason why T1 was also so hesitant about trying to get to that Roshan pit right away.
And you can see they spam the Night Stalker missing because Darkness is on cooldown and it's daytime. So they know this is a window for them to...
Carl's going to get caught here, and Sumail does a lot of damage. They immediately RP him. Cuckoo,
fear.
nice fear coming out from Soxa. Catches Cuckoo as he TPs in. One core pickoff turns to two, and add a support into the mix. OG trampling all over T1 now.
How did they catch that?
Sumail, I think it was just running for the creeper, if I'm being honest.
And he just found a hero?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. He tanked the RP. Cuckoo tried to get the Doom off. Did not BKB. Sox with a great double fear. And then everybody just dies because that's a Tinker. He's just there. Okay. Maybe that's lulled into a false sense of security. You know, it's daytime. You don't expect that to be the move, and there's just 5 OG heroes standing there. And now Tiny gets to hit buildings. And they know there's no RP.
A Tiny that also has the attack speed from No Tail.
So this is really smart. They put the brambles down, and if you watch how Sumail's standing, he's positioning himself in a way where it's hard to blink in to get the skewer back.
Yep. Carl, he had to try and blink around the bramble and skewer through it, and wasn't able to find the opening.
And basically what happens there is, of course, like, he understands that he can't blink into the bramble, so he's going to have to reposition himself. But that gives Sumail more time to see the mag under his vision, come in and like try to position himself correctly, which makes it easy for him to get that toss off, because he sees him running towards him to blink in.
Yeah, it's just so funny watching Sumail play this style. He just tranquil soul ring, shard, spamming.
Yeah, No-Tail's feeling himself.
Sumail running headlong in and is immediately popping the press the attack shard from the Legion Commander, easily dealing with any of those stuns. 23 Savage may actually just be dying here. They know he's in trouble. They're going to pop the Supernova. The Ravage, too. They barely catch the Tinker, but it's not enough. They can't actually skewer him, that's for certain. They've been feared away. Zephyr, he's going to be dying.
Phil couldn't get the auto attack off. The combo was enough. Seth came in for the finish, and now they solar crest. I'm like, this is just the thing. Tiny has become a lone druid bear, if not better.
Yeah, stronger at this point. Yes, OG, they don't seem to struggle at all. Like, even though T1 now had the chance to fight back, they just seem to be commanding these teamfights exactly the way they want them to go.
It's too much damage. Like, T1, I think, kind of have to start a fight, but like, very difficult with absolutely no vision.
Yeah.
Because like that engagement began with Sumail just right-clicking with LC buff onto a Doom that still did not use BKB. Well, I don't even know if it would have helped because he just got right-clicked to death.
They're going to need a monster skewer RP combination, and even then, a whole lot of kiting. And I still don't know how they're going to be able to deal with that Tinker. Sumail down to half health, but that'll be easily fixed thanks to No-Tail.
Yeah, I feel like the problem here is, like, even if OG decide to back off, which I don't think they are, there's just no way that T1 are breaking out of base. The map is so small for them. They're not getting more items than they have right now, so this is going to be their best opportunity of finding a good fight.
1 more minute left on the Aegis. Sumail is just going to force things here on a second lane of barracks. Missiles forcing T1 back to base, thanks to again, the advantage of nighttime vision. They're going to have to smoke just to be able to get close to a good initiation on OG here.
Have they, just to confirm, their chat wheels, they added those emojis manually, right?
Yeah. You can customize that.
It's next level.
Bouncing lasers all around. Cuckoo is losing health fast, trying to get away. The BKB still holding on to that Doom and playing around the Supernova. They're going to have to go for a reset again here. They took away the Aegis at least. Topson, okay. Really wanted to be able to get that Cuckoo kill, and he is going to get... not Doom Port. They don't need it.
They're just getting the Mega Creeps, it looks like.
Yeah, they're going to try, but they're immediately going to go back in here. Carl does manage to try and go for the skewer, actually. No-Tail defends himself with the press the attack. Seb playing on the highlights here as he's going to go for the kill onto the Tidehunter, trying to prevent the Ravage that is just now coming up. Skewer over on Saksa here. Saksa, he still has the RP. They have to be careful of this, but they actually do help Saksa get out. So many brambles, now silence. Carl's in trouble. Sumail is here to finish him off. The Ravage comes just a bit too late. They might be able to finish off Seb. They will, but it's going to be costing them 2 at least. Now they get the duel off, but Sumail, he's just going to keep on swinging on these heroes. They are getting torn apart by 23 Savage and kited around a little bit. Sumail has nowhere to go, so he's just going to commit for the kill on a Cuckoo and continue challenging. 23 Savage is up next. Now the Doom is faded away, so he can throw out the Avalanche. And Jesus, Ultra kill. Rampage on the way for Sumail. The king is big and back in play here at TI. Rampage for Sumail. And T1 are not going to call it just quit. They're going to be able to double rampage for him. Give him the triple, perhaps. Saksa helping him out, trying to keep Cuckoo in place here. And T1 are going to call it here. They get the kill on Saksa first. Triple? And that is it. Triple rampage. Sumail finally gets it. Woo. OG dominating T1 here in game 1. In what was, I think we all kind of agreed from the get-go, this was questionable drafting decisions by T1. It just seemed very odd, the strategy they came up with. Very passive.
I think it looked good up until the last bans and the last pick. I really expected the Tinker to get banned out, and I'm not really sure what they would have picked
Yeah.
instead, but I think just timings didn't line up at all this game.
And if you're not going to ban it, you figure there's an answer to it. It is not a Magnus. Like,
Yeah.
you maybe the lanes go better, it's a bit easier, but end of the day, like OG just controlled tempo the entire game. And I hate to see it because T1, like, they 2-0'd VP. This is a very good Dota team. They were third at the Annie Major, and they hamstrung themselves. Like, this is, you put any team in this position at like 15, 20 minutes against OG, nighttime, you're losing towers, Sumel's free farming. There's nothing you can do with these heroes. Like, you just don't see anything on the map.
And sometimes this happens, right, Aiden? Sometimes you just have blind spots in the draft. Maybe they
Yeah.
forgot about the tinker. Maybe they thought they had a better answer to it than it actually was. So.
I could see it being as simple as they just don't think Thompson plays it. Like,
Okay,
Thompson is a player that you kind of think of. He has a very specific hero pool,
Yeah.
but, I mean, he's proven. I saw him play DK earlier, that he can play a lot more than he's shown in the past. So they probably just didn't think he played Tinker, I would assume.
Well, that's in part what the group stage is for. And just to be able to figure yourself out and also figure out your opponents, get some more information. We're going to get more information on OG and T1 right after this break for Game 2. Game 1, a little one-sided there. OG just kind of dominating the entire game. T1 had an idea, didn't pull through. Maybe they forgot about the Tinker. I don't know. And you seem very convinced that it was super obvious.
I mean, to me, it
To-
feels
to-
like if you see Night Stalker in this patch, you have to think Tinker. You have to be aware of the option.
Okay.
And for me, I'm fairly convinced they just did not expect Thompson to play Tinker.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious to Insania. And
Calm
that's
down.
the thing is he's,
And
in
he's
a
got
very,
a very big brain.
exactly. There's
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 players who could have seen it coming. Luckily, 2 of them are here at the casting desk, so we were able to guide you through it. But not every player is quite. so
Wait, who's the
gifted.
last player?
Hmm?
You said 3 or 4.
Maybe Kuro could have seen it.
Kuro, but he's not here at TI.
Exactly.
So
And maybe
that makes Aiden the smartest man at TI, perhaps.
certainly.
I feel like Puppy would have seen it coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
The 4 of us, me, Kyle, Puppy, and
That's true.
Kuro.
I mean, that is the
10
Mount
seconds
Rushmore of
remaining.
Dota right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I think about it,
5
Aiden, which one
seconds
would you be?
remaining.
Which American
he doesn't know what
president?
Mount Rushmore
I
is.
know.
I know what Mount Rushmore is. I'd be George Washington.
Okay. Can you name any of the
I
others?
don't know any others.
Perfect. All right. Let's.
There we
I'm
go.
hoping T1. Like
Oh, hell yeah.
I was
All right.
setting this up, and I was like, give me like I was imagining these guys just 5-man brawling against each other.
Now, this is where I can shine. Jakiro is my sleeper pick for TI. Okay?
Kyle, they're not playing at mid.
10
It doesn't have to
seconds
be mid. It's an
remaining.
off laner or it's a support. It's one of the best shards. I love it
5
as an off lane
seconds
because you
remaining.
can buy literally anything. I vote Mage Slayer. You go Dragonlance, Mage Slayer, and you just rain down liquid fires
OG's
and
turn
reduce
to
everybody's
bat.
magical
Legion
damage.
Commander.
Unfortunately, this pick from OG is flawless. They love playing with the cleanse. Oracle sucks. LC, fantastic. This removes Root, Leech Seed, Ice Path, all of those things.
I'm so confused why they drafted double like heroes that are super affected
seconds
by the cleanse
remaining.
mechanic of Legion Commander when they just got handled by Legion Commander.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that,
remaining.
but Treant has had a really high win rate today, I think. I think
Yeah.
almost every single game that I've seen today specifically, Treant has looked really, really good. It feels like it's hard to teamfight into, and I think T1 played it against VP.
Yeah, they did. And that was their 33-minute victory. So
Yeah.
I think that their concept with this is to pick something. They stacked it with the Spectre, which is really cool because obviously dispersion damage is pre-reductions.
Yeah.
And then you just take no damage because of all the
Turn to
stacking
ban.
heal.
OG's turn
Also
to
a great
ban.
laner. And I believe they also played, I think, off lane more often than not, which is kind of cool to see. Most teams, of course, running it safe. Jakiro, I hope they end up in a lane against Monkey King, but you kind of just have to dodge the LC, no matter what role this Jakiro is, because that's a very annoying lane. You're just going to trade mana for his mana.
10
Yeah, so this is
seconds
something I
remaining.
realized when I was playing a lot of Disruptor a while back, and people Legion Commander me.
Mm-hmm.
But
5
I
seconds
can spend
remaining.
all my gold on mana. You can buy 12 mangoes,
Yeah.
and you just keep spamming him, and he just has to keep purging himself. And then eventually, if he doesn't get to Soul Ring within the first couple of purges,
Yeah.
then you have a pretty nice time in the lane against him.
So I agree with you, but this is going to be No Tails Hero.
It
And
could
that
be.
changes
It
everything.
could
Now
be,
he's just
exactly.
buying 12 mangoes
Precisely.
back.
Exactly. So if they get that situation going for OG, that's great. And this is the strength of Legion Commander over some hero like Oracle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see like Oracle being flexed. I think if anyone would, maybe Topson would play it mid, but I don't think he is going to. So this Legion Commander gives OG this really nice flexibility where they can run it on Seb,
Turn to
they can run it
ban.
on No Tail. I could imagine them running it on Topson. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem unlikely to me.
Well, it just checks a lot of boxes. When you think about what goes into a good draft, like just, you want stuns and damage and tower push and
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada. LC gives you 2 things that are very tough to find, which is hard
10
BKB piercing
seconds
lockdown
remaining.
Yeah.
and a defensive dispel that with the new
OG's
shard
turn to
also
ban.
gives you the BKB mechanic, plus it's an attack speed steroid. So also a great laner. You're just covering all these bases with just this one pick. Plus, of course, being multi-role in the hands of OG is incredibly impactful.
T1's
This is their
turn to
TI
ban.
drafting in a nutshell. Like, their opening picks, most cases, and it is here, both heroes can be played as supports or cores. This
Yeah.
is the Enchantress Earthshaker of TI9.
Yeah. I think this has been like every team that has done well in the early stages of the groups have been really, really good about making sure that they pick flexible heroes.
10
And I think this is a
seconds
consequence of the
remaining.
way the draft changed, the pick order.
Yeah.
Second pick suddenly has 2
5
counter picks.
seconds
And that basically
remaining.
forces you as first pick to pick flexible heroes. And then I think people adapted that kind of thinking into second pick drafting as well.
Now, during the break, we were actually talking a little bit, and you were talking about how a lot of the top tier teams, they have very open playstyles where they're able to do every single kind of strategy at a very high level. They
Yeah.
can play slow, they can play super fast, super objective focus. T1, where would you rate them when it comes to playstyle versatility? Because I feel like I've seen the same kind of heroes, certainly the same heroes over and over again, and I feel like kind of the same strategies of a lot of team fight, but also scaling. Like, where do you rate T1 as having a decent amount of versatility? Where would you put that?
I think T1 is a little bit more one-track minded than, like, let's say your OG or Secret, for
Yeah.
example, where they will be very,
10
very good at
seconds
executing their
remaining.
style of draft. I
Yes.
think we saw it in, like, the VP series, that if you put them up
5
against a team
seconds
that they
remaining.
both teams just want a team fight, and you got to fight to win the game,
Yeah.
they're going to be really, really good. They're going
Yeah.
to be mechanically better than most teams here at playing those fights out. But I think a team like OG, what they've been really smart about during this event is they just keep playing mismatched timings. If the enemy team is drafting something really, really slow, they'll play something very fast.
Yeah.
And
It-
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure you've spent time talking about. It's a lot like different MMA fighters, right? If you have two brawlers, two guys that want to go up and beat up on each other, T1's gonna thrive. They love that. OG, they're grapplers. They don't want to stand up against you. They're going to take you to the ground. You're not really able to play to your strengths. You're not hitting anybody. You're just trying to get out of the pin. And in this case, T1, they do certainly have a reliance on these big team fighters. We saw that at the Anti Major. They leaned a lot on Magnus and Wyvern specifically. Now they're sticking to that. With a Tide support at Doom offlane, they're just with Phoenix Egg, like 4 of their heroes are just huge ultimate team fight, and then a Medusa. OG, they have no intention of ever team fighting you until they have a massive advantage or a couple heroes picked off already, just controlling vision. And this is probably my favorite hero to watch OG play, the Ember Spirit. Excellent against Jakiro Tree and Storm.
Yeah, and now you have the Rubik for the instant disable. Now they have, if you look at their stuns, like almost all of these stuns are really, really fast. Storm cannot easily dodge them, or he has to keep them all in mind while he's playing the
10
team fights.
seconds remaining.
I've actually not loved Rubik so much
Me neither, I was about to
in
say.
most games,
5
but I do
seconds
think, I
remaining.
noticed this when Secret played it this morning, that when you pick it as a late pick and a counter pick into, like, for example, Jakiro and Tree,
Yep.
the root is very easy to steal, so is the Ice Path.
Yep.
Even if you steal Dual Breath, I feel like it does so much damage.
It's so good.
Yeah, and you have the cast range to really, like, effectively use it.
Yep.
And the big mana pool, so.
This is the hero playing Jakiro. I think this. I think even more so than Earthshaker, Jakiro is hard countered by Rubik.
I don't know so much about it being countered. Like, Jakiro still is Jakiro, but I think Rubik becomes a better hero
Yeah.
when he's playing against Jakiro.
Yeah, like let me rephrase. I think it's the best hero to play against is Rubik because even if you steal Macropyre with the damage increase,
Yeah.
that is an absurd amount of DPS.
So I've played a fair amount of Rubik. I played like roughly 1,000 games of it. It's by
Really?
far my most played hero. Yeah, and something that I always look for in looking
10
for a good Rubik game,
seconds
I want to make sure
remaining.
that I have a farming tool. I think that's why, like, for example, Earthshaker is good, but
5
Fissure's not
seconds
really a
remaining.
spell you want to farm with. You can't use it to push out waves. But Jakiro here gives him a way to do that. Treant gives him a way to do that with the roots. You don't really want to steal troll spells because you're gonna end up turning into melee form.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Storm's like, whatever. You can steal his pull, which is actually surprisingly not bad. When you get the extra cast range and you can pull people from
Yeah.
forever. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So overall, it's a pretty good Rubik game. And I think the nice thing about it, too, is that he has a lot of frontline. A lot of heroes here want to go in. So he's not really going to be a priority target, and he doesn't have to use his lift to initiate fights, which I think is a pretty big deal.
OG's turn
And
to
it
ban.
also is really nice when you have 3 heroes that are all like going in for you, right?
Yeah.
Because suddenly you're gonna be in a position as T1 where you have to use your spells to react. Like there's an Ember, a Monkey King, LC. Like it reminds me of True Sight. That they're bouncing in the trees, firing forward. So you're gonna have to throw out these spells,
10
and Rubik is
seconds
gonna
remaining.
casually just grab something high value.
Yeah, they're going to be overwhelmed with all the other stuff going on.
5
So he will
seconds
get good spells
remaining.
here. And Sox is actually a very good Rubik player.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have touched on it, but he's a very, very good Rubik.
I think that's you're talking about the fact that Rubik has these heroes that are going to go in for him. So I feel like initiation is kind of important in this, and I've noticed this trend that is going on at TI right now, where we're seeing like Weavers run as 4 positions. We've seen like how heroes like Legion Commander are just kind of playing in front of the enemy, as you were saying, like you called it, like No Tail was playing where the enemy kind of
10
like wants to be. He
seconds
just kind of
remaining.
goes around.
Yeah.
Monkey King 4 position, really great example
5
of like this
seconds
support that
remaining.
gives vision.
Yeah.
I feel like OG have that vision advantage between their first 2 picks there. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Monkey King is going to be the core and Legion the support, but it could be the other way around.
It could
right?
be literally anything here. Like it could be a Monkey King played by Thompson. You
Mhm.
could have this Legion Rubik lane is really strong. It could be a mid Ember Monkey King 1 with a Legion 5. Like they have a lot of different options here. They could run the Monkey 4. I mean, No Tail also plays Rubik. Thompson plays Rubik mid if they want to. Like when I look at this draft and like if you couldn't put, because here you kind of gotta, what you gotta do as T1 is you gotta go by probability. Like based on the heroes that we have, what matchups do we think OG wants? And that's how you kind of figure out which hero is gonna go where. And
OG's turn
in
to
OG's
pick.
position here, like they just have the option of picking pretty much whatever they want based on what they want to
T1's
do.
turn to pick.
Oh, I love it. I have been waiting for somebody to pick Slark,
Mm.
and this has all the things. Like I've always loved Slark Ember as a combination, just because you have so much in and out pressure and map control.
Yeah.
You have a cleanse, which I think is key. Same reason I've always loved Oracle Slark,
10
because if you can
seconds
just save him
remaining.
for that split second, you're now in a great position to get your own ultimate off.
5
The shard is
seconds
OP.
remaining.
That's another reason.
Hmm.
And you're against a troll. So those axes for mischance are dispellable.
Yep.
Slark's going to be spamming Q. It's also incredible against the Treant, Jakiro. All of the spells of T1 are removable. It used to be Storm was incredible against Slark, but now the Pounce that leashes actually makes you more of an offensive threat to the hero.
Yeah, so you touched on the purge effect, or the cleanse effect, sorry.
Supposedly I'm wrong, but I always think like it's a dispel.
Kyle, you are
purge is
never
offensive,
I mean,
wrong.
cleanse is defensive.
cleanse isn't an actual term in Dota. It just happens to be a nice term
Okay,
that I find.
you're
but-
never wrong, Kyle. Don't listen to the chat.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Choose
Slark
your
is
hero.
weak to getting initiated on, right? The whole trick is you catch him when he's not ready for it. And when you have a hero like Legion, you have a cleanse in your draft, that option is suddenly gone. You no longer want to initiate on him because unless you see the Legion commander, the Slark is always going to get purged.
Yep.
And I think this Venge, again, is like, to me, it's a little bit of a weird last pick. It doesn't address the problems that they have. But I do think Vengeful Spirit's a strong hero. And it kind of has the Wraith King effect where it spawns again. And I would assume the illusion does not give stacks when Slark hits it.
Correct.
So like it's very small. It doesn't actually like gameplay wise doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But I think I think Venge is a pretty cool hero. But
Yeah, it is hard save after all, but I was actually thinking maybe they'd go for
Stealthy
something like
monkey.
a Bloodseeker. Like I
10
feel
seconds
like we have the
remaining.
same scenario as we did in the first game where OG they
5
last pick the win
seconds
condition
remaining.
and T1 has an answer and they go for the mag. Whereas this case you go for the Venge. Like this doesn't answer Slark.
I think this game they can fight though. Like if OG runs
Definitely.
at them, they have the ability to fight back. They have damage. They have spells that are usable to get kills. Like I think whilst killing Slark is gonna be difficult for them, killing the other 4 is not necessarily the case. They have a troll lane against Monkey King. I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's Monkey Rubik against, I assume, oh, actually, never mind. This is Jakiro 4, right?
Well, specifically with these two,
Yeah.
they can play it either way.
Okay,
Like they're,
great.
they're
So they
very
swap the
comfortable
lanes
in being
around.
able to
I see.
swap lanes. So
I see.
which would you rather have the Jakiro as a ranged hero against Monkey King?
So
think
something
so.
OG can do that's really cool is they can put Legion Commander with the Monkey King in the off lane, and then Slark in the safe lane where they have 2 purges, so Jakiro no longer has a good lane.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the key, and this is why I believe No Tail is playing the LC here, because to Aiden's point earlier, as a core LC against this Jakiro spamming mangoes and harassing you, at a point you like run out of mana. You're trading regen, which is not what you want to do as a core against a support. But as a 5 position, No Tail is very content. Just you trade better than Jakiro. You're gonna run at him. You're gonna spam Q, spam W, and you're gonna keep your core in the game. So I think wherever Jakiro goes, you're gonna find No Tail in that.
Looking good.
I can see them laning it either way. Like Rubik, Slark also feels a bit weird. And I generally think Slark, because of the way his hero works, he wants to run up and trade with you. Having some sort of sustain that allows you to use Essence Shift is quite important for his laning phase. So
One that gives you extra attack speed too. That sounds
it's
pretty
not too
sick.
bad. Yeah, not too bad.
That's a good point as well. It's
Yeah.
another LC. It's just such a great hero. I've
Yeah.
Specifically with the heroes being run right now.
Yes.
Tiny. Okay,
Makes
if they're
a lot
gonna
of
do
sense.
Slark, that's really good.
Yeah.
Sven has been popular right now. That's
Precisely.
another one.
You-
Did you happen to
talk
see our
to me?
last series, Secret versus SG?
I caught bits and pieces.
Did you see
You
the
talk to
that was the best Ogre Magi Fire Shield game I've ever seen in my life.
No, I don't know
Because,
why.
I mean, have you experimented with,
Yeah,
with
I've played
Fire
a little
Shield?
bit of Ogre.
It doesn't really
BSJ.
feel like that amazing, right?
I actually think it feels pretty good most of the time. Yeah.
All right. Well, my experience has
Yeah.
not been like amazing, but
Yeah.
they were specifically played up against Sven Io,
Uh-huh.
Earthshaker Core, Enchant Totem, and Mars.
Told you a storm was
Yeah.
coming.
That was like, I was like,
Yeah,
God damn.
you're reducing a lot of damage.
It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And now I just, like I always think that I love support experimentation.
Yeah. I think
It's,
this whole Legion 5, right, it started with Puppy at Hamburg a couple of years back.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
And I think it was a
And
pretty
Amara is
interesting
just a
interview that they
number.
asked him, like, why are you playing Legion Commander 5? And he just answered, well, all the 5s are just bad. And
Yeah.
why not play a core? And that, I think, opened up this idea of, like, running a lot more heroes as 5s.
I think, yeah, exactly. And you also just don't have to spend as much gold, right? Like, buy a sentry. Everything else can be spent on yourself. And
Yeah.
else, like, they're really, the support role has kind of changed to just like, okay, you won't farm creeps. But it comes down to what's the best kit. Like, what gives my allies the most support
Yeah.
within a game? And LC just, BKB lockdown is really tough to come by. I also wanted to touch on OG's final bans I thought were really nice. We don't like the Venge as much as perhaps the Darkseer or Enigma, which were banned out. Because T1, they didn't have that big AoE ultimate finisher, and that's also, of course, to cover the Slark that's coming. 'Cause
30
Yeah.
an Enigma
seconds
pick
to battle.
would have actually been real nice, even with a Rubik already on your team.
Yes. I think it's very similar to how Rubik and Jakiro interact. It makes Rubik's game better, but it doesn't necessarily counter Enigma's game. Enigma still does what Enigma wants to do. So whether Rubik is there or not, it doesn't really change anything for that matter. So like whether you should pick it or you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for anybody who's tuning in and maybe doesn't watch a ton of Dota, can you guys break down very simply what are the strengths
The battle
of
begins.
T1's lineup and what are they looking for compared to OG?
Okay, so I think T1, in order to win this game, they need to do well in the lanes, and then they need to use the advantage they get in lanes to stop OG from running at them. Because OG is going to hit a timing similar to the last game, where T1 is trying to farm the Vengeful Ags, they're trying to get Storm's items, and they're trying to farm up the Troll. And they need to play kind of like response Dota. And when you end up in that position against OG, I think you generally will struggle. But if you can apply pressure to OG and force OG to fight on your terms, I think that's where they might struggle a bit in this particular game.
Especially a Storm who's ahead, like you can straight up take over the game. I like this start though. They're looking to tri-lane, and I think this is a great answer to both an LC support and a Slark.
Yeah.
Slark needs levels.
Yeah.
You want to trade. You can't do that in a 3-on-3. Just straight up spam with spells.
So they're trying to push in the first wave here to get lane control. If you look at 23 Savage, he's trying to drag the creeps up to connect to the next lane.
Perfect.
Which will make the Train Protector all the more effective.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to cut off people, get a good Nature's Grasp in. And that just depends on Cuckoo having an okay time, which we saw, like, Faith Beyond, they would do this all the time on LGD when they were running the offlane Venge. They would just kind of throw him to the wolves at the beginning.
Yeah. I think Slark is actually a pretty good hero against most tri-lanes though, especially tri-lanes that don't kill. Because you're going to get a lot of farm. Once you're at level 2 or 3, you're very hard to go
Looking
on.
good.
So as long as you have sustain for the Slark, I think he's going to be able to get quite a lot of CS here in the bottom lane anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, they control the lane, but they've given up level 2. The one benefit of No-Tail as well, the Q provides easy ways of just insta-killing Archer.
Yeah.
Oh, and they forced the TP from Saksa, and now they just move Jakiro back up top, but no lane control there either. Kind of an odd movement from T1, to be honest, but
I like it. I think it's good. I think that they're throwing off the laning phase. They're not letting it just play out the way OG wants it to. And I think they're making the game weird, which throws off timings, and it gives Storm space mid. And I think they want to play off of the fact that Storm beats Ember in the lane mid, and then he's able to get control rooms and apply pressure.
That was really cool because when they did that rotation, it was also just perfectly timed for Whitemon to get a hard camp.
Yeah.
So he immediately gets creep equilibrium, which was what Kyle, you said, it was kind of a problem. Now they're going to put some pressure onto Seb, where he was probably wondering, where the hell is my creep wave? And he meets Whitemon, who's now in lane. They're going to move No-Tail over.
Yep, he follows Jakiro.
Yeah. So now suddenly they have a troll treant against Slark Rubik, which is a good lane matchup for them. I think what T1 are doing right now is actually very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
They're making OG like respond to the way they want to play the game. And now instead of OG applying pressure to them, they're dictating how this game goes.
It's such a cool idea, that the fact that they can that starting off with an aggro tri-lane resulted in this. That
Yeah.
basically OG, they knew they were going to respond in a certain way that they would be able to get an advantage.
I think they probably talked about this as soon as the draft ended. We go tri lane. If Rubik comes bottom, I go top. We pressure like this. This way we get like our mid laner to come online, and they have like it really feels like they're playing with an idea. And I always like seeing that when you see these teams, like for example, we said OG, right? They have a lot of different strats. But if T1 feels like they know what they're doing, they might just be the stronger team.
Yep.
Yeah, again, I was super excited for this matchup because I thought like these were going to be two titans of team fight just smashing against each other.
Stupendous.
And we might be able to get that in this game too.
Yeah, I think like we did our best to pretend like that last game was close in anybody's game, but realistically, once it was that 15-minute nighttime and OG had total control, like T1 just can't play Dota. This is a very different type of game, and I think we're going to see a much closer one as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. In the first game, I didn't really understand their last pick either, but this time, now that I see the way they've set up their lanes, the way they're trying to approach the game, I think it makes sense to pick this Venge. Venge is like a pretty good hero for this type of playstyle, where they have 3 lanes that they can kill. They have initiation on all 3 lanes. You have Troll with the slow, you have Venge with the stun, and you have Storm with the pull. So they have the option of like making moves on all the lanes.
He
He's
knows
trying to
he's
slide
gonna go for the slight steal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
gonna go get the double bounty or the double
Beautiful.
water rune. That is very smart by
top.
Carl. Let's see if he actually wins through this with the flame guard pulling him back in. He's gonna be able
Oh
to
my
take out
God.
the. Oh,
Does
if
he
he
win
runs
this
into the
trade?
second remnant, it'll go away. Oh, we missed out on first blood as a
cares?
result. But this fight is so fun.
That. Oh man, that was like a what's the Eastwood movie? The Standoff.
Samael keeps on going. They actually trade supports, but Samael has racked up some serious stats. He's going to be able to get the double kill in this lane. So T1 may have gotten the lanes that they thought they wanted, but ultimately lost that bottom one.
Oh, and he had 20 stick too, so he's just full HP flame. That was so cool. They just sat there for 3
Yeah.
seconds.
That was just like both of the players know exactly what's going to happen, and
Yeah.
they're like trying to throw off each other's timings. That was beautifully played.
Yeah, and then the fight for top rune where Carl
Precisely.
ah man, so good. If either player blinks, they probably get the kill, maybe straight up win the lane, but
Yeah.
nobody did.
Yeah.
Bringing 23 Savage to the top lane. Looks like they no longer want to play out this bottom one with Samael getting so big. They're going to try and run down Seb. Seb nicely positions himself to be able to get multiple stuns. They managed to hit him a couple times. He's still bleeding out on damage, but the dual breath didn't hit him, so they have to get a little bit more. Finally, they get the magic missile, and that'll finish him off.
That was just like he mischief dodged the auto attack.
Yeah.
That you saw him start the animation of
Right.
jumping into tree, but got hit just before. That was pretty
That was
nice.
extremely close.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought he was going to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, Seb, still impressive. You know, one eye, boomer fingers. He's still got it.
They had top 3 net worth there for a moment, so definitely feeling good about their laning phase.
Yeah, I think despite what T1 did in the early game, it seems like all the OG cores are managing quite fine, and I think these kills bottom really bumped Samael up.
Oh, hey, Soxa. It's me, Carl. I've got a double damage rune. 3rd kill for T1.
Would have preferred if they let Carl grab it. I think he got a little. He just didn't stop, cancel the attack he had originally.
Yeah.
But the trouble is that this Slark is having a free game. He's now level 6, so he's effectively always on map. And Sumail is the win condition, right? That's the hero we're concerned about T1 finding an answer to.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean,
Oh, he's going to jump after him. Thompson. He's got that remnant left. The damage through
Oh!
was not enough, and Carl got the last hit there with the DD. Very nice.
Attack.
These two playing up against each other mid is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that they're both very, very important for their respective teams. I think T1 absolutely needs Carl to come online.
Radiant's
And then
middle
I think they
tower
need to
is
control the
under
rune sprite.
attack.
This DD rune is what effectively gets them this kill mid, and whoever gets the 8-minute rune is going to have a pretty big advantage.
I
They
want
get
to
this
point
up
out
at
something I think that is pretty cool. Remember when they were top lane, the troll TP top, they went for the kill and Seb got
Yeah.
it. The Venge and the Tree walked all the way to bottom lane to keep their TPs up.
Yeah.
So if OG tries to get aggressive, they can still respond.
Yeah, I think they learned from the first game, right? They want to be able to play pace. Like, they want to be able to match whatever OG does.
Yeah. Still not dealing with Samael, who currently has 4,000 net worth, when the second highest is still Thompson at 3. They're going to rotate in the Storm Sphere, though. Carl trying to look for a big win here in the top lane, and this pace is going to net them probably 2 kills here as both the supports on OG will fall.
Yeah. This does, however, mean that Ember gets a free rune, so let's see what he can do with that response.
We'll see. Everybody's beelining for them. Top's going to get controlled by OG of all the runes, man.
Here comes the response move.
Oh, Carl, he's not afraid even with Thompson here. He says, okay, probably don't have chains. Not really in much danger here. Thompson gonna make use of that arcane rune to make sure he's gonna survive here. Seb gonna receive a helping hand here, a bit of a purge. Dealing with that Jakiro, which is gonna be a constant problem for him. Zephyr is gonna be run down by the Ember Spirit.
He knows the radius of this Remnant so well. Like, he's just dancing around it like it's a landmine. I'm gonna grab a quick stack. And the nice thing about this, though, for OG is that their carry is completely protected. Like,
Has
there's
Sumail
really-
played against heroes during this entire series when he didn't want to?
Seriously.
I feel like he's just been hitting creeps. Yeah, the OG's doing a great job of moving attention away from their carry.
I mean, we've criticized him, right, for not using his minimap in this game.
He doesn't need to, that's why.
Who cares what's happening?
Yeah,
if we go to
he-
player perspective, it's what Cap's looking at right here, his bottom lane.
Yeah, if your team plays the way OG does, you genuinely don't need a minimap as a carry player.
Those are called inside jokes, guys. You gotta give context to the viewer. You say, we've criticized them. You didn't say it on broadcast. So what are you guys talking about?
We've been joking about it the last couple of days, that if Sumail had an option to hide minimap, he
To
would.
see more of his screen.
Exactly.
Mm. And that's a joke that stemmed from his time on Liquid.
On Liquid, yes.
And that why did that happen?
You would have to ask your best friend, William Lee.
Well, yeah, I mean, you told me. He died once when he had vision.
That's
and you guys
probably
just
what happened.
memed him out of existence.
Probably, I don't remember how this started, but it was probably, he got ganked mid when there was a ward, and William was watching his parry perspective thinking Sumail's gonna back off here, and then Sumail didn't, and then William was like, Sumail, use your minimap, it's good. And then we all started memeing him about
And
it.
then it's just set in stone. Carl's out of mana. Oh, well, actually, he does have 6 magic wand charges, so he's kind of baiting him in a little bit for one last jump away, and that jump is far enough. Sumail trying to catch him midway through. 23 Savage right in the middle of all of these heroes. Sumail not too afraid of him, as after, he's going to be at swap back. 2 seconds, he doesn't actually have his ult. Oh no, Sumail. T1 realized they made a grave error. Seb is going to be able to get off a good ultimate though, and in return, 23 Savage has overextended himself and received tips from OG.
That is unfortunate. I think 23 said it best. Sumail, a bit of a blunder there. I think he was trying to like catch the storm mid-zip almost, but as you said, the mana was enough to get him out. And then Savage just kind of returns the favor.
I think the storm went too far. Like I didn't expect him to be able to jump that far, so he must have had a soul ring that Sumail didn't see coming.
Yeah. Between Soul Ring and I think it was 6 magic wand charges.
Yeah.
Whitemon almost dying there. Thompson still playing the edges, looking for that last light. They are going to be able to get a nice overgrowth, lock him down with the ice path followed up. Thompson instead. Sumail may just fall again if they can somehow get in front of him. They've got to swap. Sumail's going to show. There it is. Swap back. Stunned while the Dark Pact is down. And T1 holding their ground, holding the line around the Tier 1 tower, winning these fights.
And this goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? If you let T1 fight, if you let them play to their limits, you put them in a position where they're allowed to play Dota, they're a fantastic team.
Yeah.
And they're showing that here. They're holding their own against OG.
Carl's balling out. He's 5-0-3. But like his score doesn't really reflect like how much he's like had to play Dota this game.
Yeah.
Pretty much dueling Thompson since minute 2. Another kind of uncharacteristic mistake from Sumail. Yes, I am talking to you. I'm not quite sure why you keep going middle and pouncing into Tier 1 towers, my friend.
Yeah, he was having a totally free game. Like, don't you just kind of like chill out for a while?
I think the Storm thing, it would have been a big play, you know? He didn't expect the Soul Ring. He gets that. We're talking about how sick of a play that is.
That's
so
true. That's true.
This is what Dota comes down to ultimately, like these small things. And I think right now, when it comes to the micro decision making, T1 looks slightly sharper. I think OG, when it came to the macro and like the decision making and understanding how to execute their drafts, that's really been their strength.
Yeah.
And I think when OG's forced to play these micro decision making games, that's when they sometimes tend to suffer.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point because like this game, there's no huge like strategical advantage or edge OG can lean on, they've just got to ball out. Like, they just got to play Dota and hope for the best.
They're going to pop out, but at the same time, T1 did smoke over, so it's going to be a full-out team fight where Carl, he's going to target down the Rubik first. They're going to be able to get on Thompson as well. No root just yet. Slide into a chain out. They're going to be able to get away on him. The core survived. The supports will die.
It's so hard to play into Jakiro tree. Like, you just see, you know, maybe in the past you had experience playing like World of Warcraft, you know, not standing just slightly out of range with the fire or the roots, but in this case, if you catch it for a second, I think No-Tail was saving W there, but ends up just kind of standing in Macropyre and dies to a root from the troll.
Sumail did get solo mid-tower
Yeah.
as a result of that.
So this is what OG does so well, and I noticed them doing in all these games. Like, yeah, they lost the team fight, but they traded 1 for 2, and they only effectively lost their 2 supports. T1 burnt a lot of cooldowns, they brought their carry to the fight, and Sumail's just free farming still.
Yeah.
Sumail's getting to choose when he wants to fight against heroes. So even though like he's died twice here, a little bit uncharacteristically, it's only been because of his own mistakes. It's not because T1's able to apply any pressure to his game.
Yep.
And it's pretty telling. It means that OG are heavily in control of the game. And I think if you ask the OG players right now, like, who's winning, they're like, we're dominating this game. Everything's going the way we are expecting it to.
Yeah, I mean, Thompson got away with this pretty greedy build as well, maxed out W and Flame. Like, Maelstrom already. Like, he's just able to farm now very efficiently.
Yeah.
Seb.
Jump in, jump out.
Looking
Rune spawned
good.
bottom, ultimately DD for Thompson. So you're saying that like OG probably thinks that they feel really good about this game. Dota Plus actually has T1 up 66%. Do you agree with that? Are you saying like just OG thinks that this game is going fine, but that's not actually the case, or what?
I think OG are happy because they're in control. They're setting
Okay.
the pace of the game, and I think that's what they want to be doing. And they know that as long as, like, the game is on them to mess up. They know that T1's going to respond to them. They just need to predict in what way they're going to do it and then react to what's happening. And I think as T1, you don't feel good because you're always playing the response game to the enemy team. You're not, like, if you notice, trolls in every engagement. Every time we move our camera somewhere, there's a troll there. And he's being poked, he's being harassed. But Carl is balling out of control. So, I mean, Carl is feeling himself for sure. He's enjoying this thoroughly.
Now, you say that they won't feel good reacting all the time.
Yeah.
Is that just like a general rule, or do like some players or teams prefer reacting to the enemy making moves?
So I think you enjoy reacting when you're killing them and then you're getting something out of it. You know that you're progressing your game. You're getting closer to where you want to be. And I mean, obviously they have been, but I think like, if you think about all the small things that are going in their favor, all it takes is one of these fights not to, and then suddenly we're going to feel like Slark is unkillable and we can't do anything about him.
Yep.
So I think from OG's perspective, they feel like they can lose 10 fights, but as soon as they win one, the map is going to open up for them.
Okay. So T1 has to parry perfectly every single time.
Exactly.
And we haven't seen them slip up yet.
No, exactly. I think what T1's doing is like perfect, but OG also are aware of that. That it needs to keep going this way for them.
Yeah, and I love, you know, you can even
Caught
see,
him.
Oh, my God.
White Mountain quickly killed T1. Or actually, they stole Macropyre on Soxa. That's a big pickup.
Like, Sumail, he went for the Dark Pact cooldown, and it's because he's just kind of the win condition. And like Aiden is saying, like his deaths are kind of on him. It's really tough for T1 to deal with Slark in this game, unless Troll or Storm just gets like an item ahead. And even then, it's still a little rough because you're playing with No-Tail in your back pocket. So I think that's part of the reason Carl is like skipping the Orchid here, because it's still not killing Slark. Even if he can't save himself, if No-Tail's just there, that entire item is now squandered, and I really like the Kai-San for that reason. Just seems like it's better fit here.
It feels like T1's strategy to win this game is they're going to try to play like a ball so Slark doesn't feel comfortable running into them, and then they're going to try to kill off the other heroes. They want to leave Slark for last and like deal with him once they get there.
And you said early on, like, the strategy for T1, win the lanes, which they didn't actually do, but the other thing you said was they need to stave off OG's aggression and, like, during this crucial period of time where Venge, Storm, and Troll all need items.
Yeah.
And we're about to reach the end of that, right? Cuckoo is about to get his Aghanim Scepter.
And that is huge. Like, yeah, Venge doesn't help too much with the Slark, but it is a great defensive save for the Pounce, but it's also really nice against Monkey King. You can get him out of the Wukong. We saw it used offensively to get Slark killed earlier.
And swapping Monkey out of,
and Aghanims doesn't give charges to the Slark. In addition, it's like 2 lives, right? So you can just be this frontliner that your team kind of needs, plus damage steroid for the Troll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, stolen Macropyre. That's actually going to do enough damage to be able to quickly kill Carl. Great play from Soxa and Sumail, and a big pickup too. 599 bounty for Carl.
The sentry, was that just, he didn't have vision of the Slark as he got close? Now, do they have the root?
Not going to go for it here. Cuckoo does have this. Oh, he actually doesn't have the Aghanims just yet. The Overgrowth just off the mark there. Little awkward. 23 Savage not able to catch up to Thompson. It's just this trio that is forcing a pretty big response out of T1, but the Axe is now here for Cuckoo.
I'm loving it. Just No-Tail is just so good in these games. Like, he always seems to be right place, right time. Just
I think that's always been one of his biggest strengths as a player. I mean, his understanding of the map, I think, like, for as long as I can remember, I've always thought is like probably one of the best in the world. Even back when he used to play carry and used to play these Nagas and stuff, he always knew like where to be, where to cut, what waves to be on. And I think, yeah, he's utilizing it perfectly here, even as a support player.
Yeah. Like, if Thompson doesn't have No-Tail with him there, he just kind of feeds and he's like, what's he doing, guys? But
Yeah.
No-Tail with the immediate cleanse
Yeah.
of the initial stun. Like, the root, we heard the root animation, and it didn't seem like he spent any time rooted.
Yeah. So let me tell you a secret. I learned this when I was playing with Sumail. When you have these really over-aggressive player types, like Sumail when he's mid or Thompson, you get it for free almost because you know they're gonna run into trouble because you've seen it happen so many times that you can easily position yourself behind them. And if the enemy team doesn't respond to these players, they're just gonna get so much out of the map.
Yeah.
Nice long jump from Carl is going to be able to catch. Oh no, Saksa caught him with the telekinesis and stole ball lightning.
I really like that point because I've had the experience of the opposite kind of player, which is passive to a fault. And the trouble is when you play around them and they don't push their limits, you end up feeling completely useless because nothing's happening on the map.
Yeah.
When you play around these guys that know what to do, to get in there, that create action and chaos, suddenly you feel like you have a purpose.
Precisely.
I feel like occasionally our casts just serve as a sort of therapy for Kyle to be able to get over his former team experiences.
I'm just here for the Dota cap. It's nice to watch good players at the best of their abilities.
Long jump
battling
over.
it out.
Seb going to be caught, but immediately there is going to be the purge coming out from No-Tail, but they still can keep going. Duel going out, just trying to keep the storm in place, but it's going to be a duel that is actually not won, just ever so barely. Turns around, nice stun, but mana, okay, they don't want to chase any longer, and it's probably for the best.
Love Seb's builder. He had the Echo Saber queued up initially, but I think Mage Slayer, even as the offlaner, is just the right choice. It's something I love about OG is that they're always getting these items that are right for the game to help out the heroes that count. In this case, it'll be the Slark.
I'm interested to see how this Mage Slayer plays out.
Oh,
Nice jukes.
jukes out of the magic missile. Thinking about pursuing here, especially with the Stormsphere being chased away there a bit. He can come back to join the team fight perhaps, and they're going to be able to hit a nice two-man stun. Cuckoo may be the first to die, but remember he's got that extra life. Throws out a magic missile, keeping Sumail back. T1 do a pretty good job. They do have BKB on the trolls, so they might be turning this. BKB, there it goes. Who's he going to target? They swap back in No-Tail, which is who they want to be able to gun for. They finally get off the ultimate. And Sumail, he doesn't have any mana. They lock him down, finish him off. Nicely played by T1. 50 seconds, he's dead for T1, turning on a dime. They're so good at kiting team fights back and re-engaging.
Yeah, I think.
They're battlers, they're brawlers, and OG are playing to their strengths.
Yeah, I think this game they have they have a draft that can play the game.
Yes.
I think OG really managed to corner him in the last draft and put him in a position that they didn't feel like they knew what to do.
Yeah.
But this time around, they're playing perfectly. I think one of the key things for these team fights, Vengeful Spirit is one of the best heroes against saves because you can either swap the save hero out of position or you swap the hero that you're going on out of position so the save hero can't use his spells.
It's deceptive because OG, they kill the Venge and they feel good, right? But Cuckoo is fine with that. Suddenly his spells are back up. A great setup. And then Whitemon gets the double ice path to ensure the kills. And 20 years out, I was like, man, you're in some big trouble. But he had to save the ulti, because if he pops it while he's still in Wukong's, then the whole fight just takes place under Seb. And T1 are really just done for. But because he gets it off so much later, Sumail's now out of position with no ultimate. They have no Wukongs. They really have just no save left. And suddenly things turn out A-okay. But still anybody's game.
Absolutely. Anybody could do this, though.
What do you think of the Aghanims on
Radiant's
Sumail?
bottom tower is
I'm-
under attack.
Because I feel like that's an item for when you're snowballing hard. Like, the double pounce is nice, but, you know, it doesn't feel like he's strong enough to just kind of get into the middle of T1 and battle at the moment.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think the idea is probably just to be able to get in, kill one, get out, or catch Storm, chase him down, like, just more disable, more mobility.
Do you
I think it's always hard to
uh,
question mobility. It's always so strong, especially in these types of games.
It's true.
is there any way it can answer like the swap? right? He pounces one, they get
Yeah.
swapped out of it, but he could still keep going, right?
Yeah.
Radiant structures.
The thing is, I just fear, like, this is the Venge factor. Like, Troll's just a stronger carry. Even though Sumail's slightly ahead in the net worth, if you look at the itemization, just Falcon Blade, Maelstrom, BKB with a Venge behind you. Like, that Venge counts as that extra item.
Yeah.
And that means, you know, Sumail won't really be able to trade too well against 23.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for OG, it's not about the carry killing the other carry. It's more about how can you kill out the supports.
Yeah.
I think both the supports of T1 have been doing a great job of knowing their limits and surviving on this sliver of health.
Oh, they managed to catch him, but there is going to be the defensive swap. 23 Savage is going in. He's going to try and deal with Thompson first, but a stolen swap from Sox is going to be able to get him out, but the Overgrowth catching Sumail again while the Dark Pack was down. Cuckoo dies, but immediately comes back as a Spirit, catching Seb, swapping him out of his own ultimate and keeping him in place. 23 Savage is keeping the rest at bay, and his team can deal with leftover behind Seb and go straight for Roche.
I mean, the supports, Insania just said it, like,
Yeah.
they just straight up win that fight. Zephyr also has Holy Locket, Heal Talent, and Living Armor. So, yeah, you can initiate on my Storm or Troll. I'm just going to keep you alive. It's a ridiculous amount of heal and armor. And then there's an Ice Path on 3 heroes.
Yeah.
Like, Sumail doesn't do damage.
Something very interesting that Zephyr also did this game is he maxed out Leech Seed. I don't think I've ever seen that done before. But to be honest, I've been on the panel. It's been hard to see exact skill builds for people, but it makes a lot of sense to me when you see the game play out and how it plays out. If anything goes on the backline, he drops Leech Seed, they all get healed, they're playing like a ball, so it just gives all of them so much effective health.
Yep. 35% healing increase as well, so obviously it doesn't help you with your grasp, but it just ensures that you're going to have even more sustain
Radiant's
for your
middle
allies.
tower is
Yeah.
under attack.
And they're really not able, I feel like you want to find Whitemon in the back end of your hero, but it's just not a possibility. And even if you were to do so, Kuku has the swap. The Venge really seems like it's paying off. Like, we questioned it, but it gives them that ability to ball up, to your point.
Yeah.
Because you have all this sustain and a little bit of the damage amplification, so your carry just all of a sudden 2k ahead with an Aegis.
Yeah, I think the difficult part of the game for T1 was really getting to this point, getting to the point where they can ball up. OG now, I think they're gonna have to try to split them up. They're gonna have to force these heroes out of position and force like multiple initiations at once. They have the tools to do it. They just gotta be able to like get the Ember going on one target, get the Slark in on another. Because if they're all balling down on the same hero, it's just gonna be swapped recently.
Yeah, one nice pick off the BKB from Thompson is caught by the Overgrowth from Zephyr. Still has decent amount of magic immunity time, but is it going to be enough to be able to get him out of this hell? As T1 surrounding him with so many heroes, and he's out of remnants. He is out of HP too. Double kill for Carl.
And Thompson, BKB into the tree. A really nice job by Zephyr. Another reason the hero seems very strong in T1's hands. They needed their own tool of BKB disable.
Yeah.
And they've got it now. Sanjay Yash on the troll. It really feels like it's T1's game to lose now. 24-10, you got to be feeling yourselves. Still anybody's game in terms of like the gold differential, but you know, if anyone would agree with us, it's probably Seb, who hates the fact that you see net worth on the top of the screen, because that has nothing to do with who's winning in a game of Dota. It's about timing, it's about team composition. And it does feel like Dota Plus has that same idea, because even with less than 1,000 gold, 81% win rate, you got to figure T1 going to outscale.
Is under attack.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've weathered the storm, so to speak. Like, OG needed to take control early, and there's still absolutely hope, but they gotta play these fights smart.
23 Savage was very far forward, and OG looked to be able to potentially punish him. Not going to be able to get the immediate duel. The swap from Sox is still stolen and still managed to get out No Tail. Pounds forward. Sumail does manage to get on top of the support, so there is going to be Whitemon down. An important member of T1 to be able to stay alive in these team fights. A swap back in. Managed to get the duel. 23 Savage gets the duel off. Sumail keeping him inside of the Wukong's command, where he will die there. OG finally managed to win a team fight, a big one at that, where they get 3, and Carl thought maybe they could turn around onto Seb, but Seb does have Sumail right behind him, so even if they do manage to kill this Monkey King, they may be losing both of them here as... Oof,
Oh no, 23 Savage, what have you done?
bad time for lag.
What?
So,
Was
like
he
we talked
lagging
about,
30 seconds ago when he was farming tower by himself?
this is the thing, right? If they ever drop this ball, they don't have the positioning, they don't have the way they don't position their heroes the way they were doing earlier. This is what's going to happen. And OG are always on the prowl. I think they're going to take over the entire map now, try to clear out the vision, and then make sure that they are able to continue chasing the T1 heroes down once they spawn.
He's got 196 extra agility.
Damn.
Can't click the Monkey King. Don't click
Seb
me then.
Chad. Please.
This is very unfortunate because that was a stolen Venge stun, and I think Carl might be in trouble now as well.
Yeah, they're going to be able to catch both of them. They do manage to finish off Seb, which was what the original trap was laid for, but it doesn't matter.
Dude, 53 stacks on Sumail now. He has 212 bonus agility.
Yeah, it's almost that's I mean more than the 196 I pointed out 10 seconds ago.
Focus on observing, Cap.
I'm leading this TriCast and doing observing. The least you could do is listen to me when I talk, Kyle.
I'm so focused, dude. The Dota is fantastic. Okay, so
It's
we already
true.
see the big mistake has just happened, which is somehow 23 Savage is dead alone in front of tower. Then comes out immediately BKBs, which I think is actually a mistake here because suddenly he can't, like, he's backing with BKB, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, Aiden, they now don't have the tools to properly position in a fight. He has to use ulti. He's swapped in, wins the duel, but look at how this fight happens now, right? Everybody's zoned by the Wukongs, and he's just stuck inside of it. This is when Monkey King plays well into Troll. If you can force this, you're going to always be happy.
Yeah, it's just the Monkey King arena here just zones off anything, but they really need the Venge to be present when they take the fights.
Dude, Sumail, he still's got some stats going, and he's not slowing down whatsoever. These pounces are staying on top of these supports. They cannot seem to get away. Swap back in, no tail. Now he's in an awkward position. They're going to jump on a 23 Savage, turns around, bops a BKB before the stun can come in for the Monkey King, but again, he's going to retreat with that BKB. No, he's not. He's going to finish off Sumail. Turns around real quick, blows him up. Does manage to get the swap back in, and 23 Savage heals up just a little bit. Can he finish off Seb before and stay alive? He does. Thompson's going to commit. Trying to finish off 23 Savage, does get that one. With the BKB, might be able to get two here. Zephyr, just one slide away from dying. Actually does die to Saksa. Chaining up two, TPing out, doesn't leave a remnant behind.
We'll win.
No mana for the pull. We were talking to No Tail the other day. He said Fog's line is the best because you use it when you're winning or you're losing. It's the best flame or a way to keep your team motivated as we once again hit a pause. Oh, but it's nice to take a break sometimes in the middle of these games. You know what I mean? Hang
Yeah,
out.
this has been a very, very exciting game.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah,
This is
nice
like-
to get the pulse down a bit.
Yeah, TI Dota
Absolutely.
vibes. Okay.
Why are you guys looking at me?
You're in charge.
Okay, analysts, please talk about this game state.
Oh my God.
It's paused currently. I
Oh.
don't think much is happening.
That's a good observation. I didn't realize that.
You're welcome. That's
We have a
10K MMR
replay.
analysis
You
for
can
you right
you
there.
can break down this replay
Feel
that
free,
I
Kyle.
shouted over.
Well, No Tail does not have his W available. Sumail uses his Dark Pact, and then you're going to see Sumail go right back in again. He will Dark Pact. However, he does not press his ultimate button and gets immediately silenced as it fades by Carl just before he tanked that stolen Venge stun. So, Sumail dies as No Tail had no ability to save his carry.
Sick timing from Carl. That was
Yes,
really good.
That was very good. And that's what makes playing into the Slark so difficult because it's like of all heroes that kind of demonstrate the frustrating nature of Dota, it's like, did you get the Orchid? Okay, well you've won the fight. Oh, did he hit Q or R just as you did? Well, you've lost the fight. And them's the breaks.
I think you gotta love to gamble if you want to play Slark. It's like
Yeah.
a little bit of it, right? It's a mind game of am I gonna Q or am I not? So we were having this discussion on the panel earlier about what if you showed mana bars for both sides? Like if you could see the enemy team's mana bars. A hero like Slark would instantly die, right? It would just ruin the concept of Dark Pact because you just see the mana bar.
Yeah.
move.
If
So
anybody-
it was a hard no on my end.
Indeed. And I will say I would also love, because we both play, oh, hang on.
Oh,
Thompson.
hold up. Nice.
Not going to be able to get away. Maybe his spirit can get out. As they do have the Train Protector on the way. Yeah, they're kind of realizing they're not going to go for the Spirit at all. In fact, if anything, they may be swapped back into Doom here. Seb, going to be silenced. Carl not fully committing to this one, though. They haven't seen the Slark just yet. Cuckoo, he's going to try and start backing away. Thompson's looking for some of these heroes. Sumail pounces forward. He's going to go for Whitemon here. Starts stealing some of those stacks. Tries to stick on top of them and should be able to get that kill on the right-hand side. Thompson does catch the other support at the same time. That's going to be Zephyr. But at the same time, Sumail has to be careful here, especially with the Cuckoo. His Spirit is going to get burned out, but he could buy back if he wants to and rejoin this fight as a full-out hero. No longer the case. No longer an option. T1 will retreat, giving this fight to OG.
The LC shard is so good because that BKB time gives you those extra seconds to almost always have Dark Pact back.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I thought Sumail had overextended once again, but No-Tail this time was ready to save.
Yeah. And if you just think about this game, like, how many times did we just see T1 absolutely like outplay, play to their limit, do all these small things right? And despite that, like, the game is fairly even.
Yeah. Win probability back in OG's favor of that.
Yeah.
At the same time though, like this is the trouble. Like you're playing against OG and you make a pretty big mistake up top. You give away that Aegis advantage that if you swap roles, maybe OG utilized to get a, you know.
They're just so good at applying the pressure, right? They're always in your face, and you're always forced to play extremely sharp. And the second you stop, that's what happens.
Oh, we got it.
Does manage to get the pounds. The team is coming in, but it's too late. Carl's already dead. Double damage of Sumail made short work of Carl and OG. They could just keep going. We certainly are going to be looking for somebody here. Zephyr not spotted, it seems.
Carl has buyback though. Would not be surprised to see him use it.
Yeah, considering how aggressively T1 is positioned, even though they're missing their mid laner,
Seb sees the
Seb,
tree.
he sees this. He's spotting some heroes right now. Swap back into the ice path. That's a good hold, but he did not manage to get it in. Snare out. The troll did not get lucky, and Cuckoo will die for what he thought was going to be an Ember Spirit kill. Pounce through the Spirit, doesn't actually latch on top of him. And that is going to be the Spirit being gone as well. I can't believe T1 tried that. It was a risk, and it was not a calculated one, I think.
Yeah, this is looking really, really good for OG now. They're knocking at their door, potentially forcing 2 buybacks here.
And this is where things get a little spooky, just because suddenly OG have this ability to play, like, you know, T1 were kiting while they were controlling the area, but now suddenly OG's reach potential has doubled. They have the Aghanims on both cores. Seb is able to play trees, and so it's just so hard now for the Jakiro tree to set up like we saw them do so effectively in the mid game, because suddenly Sumail's just gunning for them.
Yeah, OG's getting the initiation in all these last fights. They're getting the kind of jumps that they want. They want these fights when T1 is not balled up. T1 needs the ball where it feels impossible for OG to commit in. But it might be reaching that point where Sumail is now tanky enough to go in, knowing that he has no-till to purge him, and he can just apply all the pressure.
Yeah, he has the Scotty as well, so Silver Edge to boot. He's feeling very good, and it also feels like a lot of these fights are starting when he already has some stacks built up, which has definitely been helping OG.
Yeah. So you notice top here, he just goes in, pushes the wave a little bit, makes sure it's going in the right direction, and now he's already moving over to the next place.
No-Tail's camping pit. I'm sure he's aware that this will be up momentarily, and there it is.
T1, they know this timing as well. They're sweeping over to the Roshan pit. They have no idea how low it is. Now they get some vision. Cuckoo spots that Sumail is trying to solo it. Both teams just going to hold their side of the high ground around Roshan.
Yeah, and this is like a classic standoff, right? Neither team really wants to fight into their team's division. So now it's going to be like a little bit of a strategic game of who can get the smoke. You're trying to wait here to get a timing where the enemy team is not ready. So something that you might see teams do around this time is, if you look at the clock up top, it says 33:40, right? So you know at every complete minute the camp spawns. So you know that the heroes are going to be around the jungle at that timing when the camps are spawning. Because you know they're grouped up, there's not a lot of farm on the map available to them. So that's a potential timing for you to make a move. But it seems like OG, they recognize that they're just balled up, so they send tops onto the side lane, push it out, get more info, and then make a play based off that.
Oh, grabs the double
Yes,
damage and manages to get the pounce. Then it's going to force out the swap from Cuckoo and probably get him killed as he's pulled back in by the telekinesis. His spirit will manage to get out at least.
No
but
buyback though.
Yeah.
However, yeah, who cares, right? You're still in the game. Sumail's being a lot more disciplined as well though with the ultimate usage. It's now preemptive, which I think has been key.
The Storm Spirit had to go all the way back to Fountain, so may not be here unless he wants to make a real gun at it and go for a long, long zip. Keeping the vision inside. Sumail's double damage is going to wear out. Storm's going to start TPing on to the outpost. Thompson is in. Thompson's going straight up for those supports. Samael, not sure where he's gunning to, but 23 Savage is a little bit isolated here. Cuckoo's trying to keep pace to make sure he can swap back 23 Savage to get him away from Samael, while Seb is scaring back the rest of these heroes. Thompson's going to be able to finish off Zephyr. That's going to be first. 23 Savage looks at Seb. Carl commits with the Aghanim Scepter, pulling them both in, but inside of that Monkey King ultimate, they don't feel great. Again, the stolen swaps coming out from Soxa is going to be able to keep his cores feeling good and feeling aggressive. As telekinesis toss back, chained up together. Toss, duel, going out, no tail. They turn around quickly, kill him, winner, and Carl gets away before Samael can hunt him down, but Samael doesn't kill. He's going to be able to go for the supports and may still be able to catch Carl. Carl, no mana. Samael bounced on top of him. They catch him. 4 dead on the side of T1. And now Roshan is going to go the way of OG.
So this team fight, I don't see any other player than Topson doing this. But you notice how we just straight up into no vision, rolls in with the Ember. He knows that they're there. He's playing off of the fact that he knows that they're positioned there. That's how 95% of supports are going to position themselves when their cores are running into the Roche pit. And they get this team fight where there's like basically 4 fights going on at once. Topson's chasing supports. You have Sumail chasing 23 Savage, and you're forcing T1 to not be able to use that swap to just save whoever's getting initiated on. It's really, really smart gameplay coming out from OG, and they're doing a lot of this blind. They're not playing off of vision. They're playing off of where they think they're doing, what they think they're doing, and their own game sense.
Yep, they're just forcing skirmishes.
Yeah.
And they're ensuring that supports die, which they were unable to do earlier in the game. And I even love the way like they're itemizing with this knowledge of like how they're gonna play. Thompson is going refresher. Like he is playing for like these quick fights. It's all about survival for OG. Create chaos. T1, they need a more coordinated method to win fights. Like they need to kind of control. You saw even there when Savage got kills, it was with like 3 or 4 heroes collapsing. He actually had targets, a big ice path.
Yeah.
OG, they're just, you know, pre-ulting on Sumail, spamming dark packs. You got No Tail just kind of waiting in the wings to get off cleanses, and Thompson's gonna have 10 remnants. How do you hit a man who's invulnerable and flying through you?
And he probably is going to buy the shard too, right? So every kill he gets, that's a bonus remnant. I wouldn't be surprised to see it right after the refresher.
Both very nice items for Sumail, but he's actually just going to keep the Paladin Sword. I think that makes sense just because it boosts your regen time when you're off map.
It's just not really anything he needs to flicker. He has enough purge with the Dark Pact at this point that the lifesteal is just better for him.
Paladin Sword's doubly effective because he's also got the shard too,
Precisely.
Oh, good point. The Slark Shroud is so broken.
right? Agreed.
The Troll will end up attacking no one if it's used.
Could actually save against the semi-black hole coming out from the Storm Spirit with the Aghanim Scepter.
Yep.
As well.
So yeah, I think for OG it's going to be important to continue taking fights like that, where they can predict where their supports are going to be positioned, and Thompson can just roll in. He's just continuously going to do this, I'm sure. He's just going to jump into the backlines. He knows he has like 5 different jumps, so eventually he'll find them. There are only so many spots that they could be hiding in.
Now for Arcane. He also
And the 25
talented-
talent, right?
Yeah, he talented totally for Searing Chains as well. So you're just going to see him zipping back and forth, spamming chains.
Here we go.
Cuckoo did still manage to get the swap, but 23 Savage can't hit him right now. Sumail, his ultimate was used, still has the Depth Shroud. They're going to turn around and start doing some damage with a pull in onto Carl. They do something to Sumail, but he's going to be popping his BKB. 23 Savage responds in kind here. Cuckoo's going to fall, Spirit Form now.
Huge root.
They do manage to get the nice lockdown. Macropyre going out. The Ice Path could actually lock down, but Thompson Refresher. BKB still potentially up. Chase for Carl doesn't actually quite get him. Meanwhile, 23 Savage is just being kited around and ripped apart by the rest of OG. Now with no carry, T1, they're very likely going to be dying here unless Carl could do something magical by himself, but he just doesn't have it in him. Doesn't have level 25, nor the shard.
Wow.
GG is called. OG will take the second game here against T1. T1 definitely putting up a much better fight, but you gotta think back to that moment. 23 Savage just way overconfident in his positioning, not respecting perhaps OG's aggression enough, and I feel like that's going to come back to haunt him, because this has been a story that has been there for 23 Savage for what has been a relatively young career. Last TI qualifiers, he didn't make it, and he felt like it was a mistake of his own, and many people agreed. And now he's finally here, and he's like, the nightmare's over, but I feel like that same nightmare, it's a recurring one, you know?
You just can't make mistakes against OG. Tops.
I mean, they apply the pressure on you nonstop.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
force this mistake out. I don't think it's necessarily just him making the mistake, but OG are constantly pressuring you. And you saw them; they were trading out in fights all game long, but they were never really getting that far ahead. They were never really getting objectives out of it, and that's what I mean. I think OG feel very comfortable taking these fights, even though they're losing them, as long as they are setting the pace. They are the ones that get to decide what happens.
We were talking about this in between games where it doesn't feel like wins, losses, misplays, whatever ever affect OG. Like they lost a couple of big fights. Sumail made
Yeah.
like 3 pretty big mistakes, but you make one and suddenly we're in an even game and it's the same OG just continuing to play some of the best Dota in the world. And I think that their ability to maintain focus and play well, like no matter the circumstances, is one of the reasons they're 2-time TI.
So mechanical play, like between these two, probably even, but just like it almost sounds like OG's philosophy ends up what's reigning supreme in this series.
I think it's largely, at least in game 2, it's just they are constantly in control. Even in game 1, actually, they're in both games. I feel like they're in control, despite like you can look at the net worth, but it doesn't really feel like it's telling the story.
Yeah.
When even OG's behind, even when they're ahead, it feels like they're equally in control. Just from the 10-minute mark onward, it just feels like they're deciding what happens.
All right, well, OG definitely back in TI form as they just continue to rack up the wins. They're looking like one of the tougher teams here, at least the start of this group stage. T1, meanwhile, a little bit of setback for them, but I still feel confident, at least seeing this game 2, how they were able to play. They've got it in them to be able to go deep in this tournament.
They played OG and VP today. They escaped 2-2.
Yeah.
I think you'll take those.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. All right, thank you, Aiden, for joining us for the TriCast.
Yeah, it was
it was
a
a
blast.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Had a
thank
lot
you
of
for
fun.
having me.